Alrighty, this is Decentralized News Hour. We're going to have Gregory Patrick and No Chains one. Maybe see if Wake Up ND might be kicking around. That'd be awesome. But yeah, we're going to get going. I think No Chains is going to hop in any second. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about. This caravan of migrants is pretty nuts. Pretty nuts indeed. I really been looking into it as much as I can. I speak a little Spanish, and I was lucky enough to catch a lot of actual live interviews going on down there. Not a lot of mainstream reporters and embedding their own guys down there at all. Just so you know, it's sad as it is, but it's to be expected. It happens a lot. Like they're not really asking any questions. They're not doing much of anything, and yeah, it's a little weird. So. Let me see the stream health. All right. But yeah.
Hey.
Oh, there he is. How you doing, bud?
Good. I am good today. What's going on?
I was just getting into the migrant caravan. It's really what's I've been really looking into quite a bit today. And yeah, it drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I was. I was busy at work today, so I didn't dive into any real politics other than that Saudi thing I posted. But
Oh, that was excellent.
yeah, thanks, bro. I've been working on that for a while. But I was jumping on Zero Hedge and Drudge and stuff, and the caravan thing popped up, and I just was asking around the office and stuff, and like it was weird being viewing it the way that I'm viewing it now, because I grew up as like a New Jersey liberal guy where you're like, hey man, immigration's cool, bro, and don't want to be a racist. But when you see numbers like 14,000 people and they're all like working males and they're just walking across the border and no one's stopping them, um, like you just turn to the person next to you, regardless of race or economic class, and you're like, "You're right with this, bro?" Like, and they're like, "No, like you can't just no, that's not. That's so somebody stop them." So like
Well,
I don't know if you.
no
It's
one's going to
just
stop him.
wild.
Where
No, it
this
was
is a
just
political
wild.
situation on our end. But here's what I learned from listening to the actual people. Like I said, the beauty of it is no interpreter. So
Yeah.
I actually what these people are actually saying that's not political at all. It's not it's they say there's a total collapse of their society. They don't understand politics. They don't care about politics. But they just want food and water. I swear, almost everybody interviewed is like, "Why are you here and what are you doing?" And they all just said because there's no food, there's no water, there's no work, there's nothing going on in my country. Nothing. It's not a place where and that is why the healthy males are on their way. Here's the thing. I've met a ton of people from that area. It's why I speak Spanish. I've never taken a class in my life. I just know a ton of people who speak the language, and I know a ton of people from the Southwest America who speak both, so they can tell me when I'm completely wrong. So it's worked out pretty good. But these guys, they, and again, I was curious too. It's like, okay, why are they here? Like, why are they coming, and who sent them? And what they're all saying, as far as I can say, is the TV and the radio in their communities. If they're too far to get television, they're all listening to radios. Like, we're talking third world country. There's no food, there's no water, there's no work, there's no medicine. You know. So on the radio, it said we're going to, and again, these ads, as far as I can see, were paid by Mexican advocacy groups, and that money was funneled through political groups here. And then I'm supposed, if I keep digging, I'm going to go find our favorite Hungarian dissident, George Soros. I swear, it's terrible, but I feel like if I keep digging, the money came from like 10 different people, but it ended up on Honduras radio stations. The money got funneled to them. Now, the people who are walking didn't get any of this money so far. I'm sure there's a few of them that are leading the way, like a couple of plants from these advocacy groups that rounded them up out of their fucking houses and shit, and started this whole thing going. But it's mass hysteria on their part. They believe they're going to get free medicine, free food, free water, and to an extent, they're all correct. But they're hearing about it on well, everything is socialist down there, so it's sort of It's sort of like the what do you call it? The state owns the radio anyway. So,
Yeah.
it's a mess, man. What do
No,
you
it's a
think about
mess,
all of that?
and I never blame the individual person. I mean, that's just big. Or the group, because that's how you get in wars. But I do the thing that frustrates me is that, like, well, it's actually funny because, like, I don't really care about who really wins what. But, like, there was one political strategist who said, um, and he's a little rude about it, but he made a point. He goes, regardless of what you feel about these people, you have one group, you have one political party who's saying don't stop them, and you have another political party that says stop them. Like that, those are the only two arguments you're getting. And he's like, the majority of human beings in America are too busy to find out why they're coming. They're just going to vote with the guy that says that's going to stop them, and that's what's going to happen. Like, I'm sorry. Now, if they get in, and they do get their free, and I have no problem if a church was there at the border giving them free food and healthcare, I wouldn't. There would be no fight. But like you said, because they come from, I hate saying they, but you know why that sucks. Always saying they. But what I
You're
mean by that
othering
is
then.
you're
I
yeah,
caught you. You were othering.
you're othering each individual, but you're coming
Sure, to
from
an
a
extent. I
society
mean, if
that's
you are, you
yeah,
have to though, because for the sake of the language to function, we have to use these sort of
yeah, of
pronouns when they
course.
apply. So I don't
Yeah.
hold it against you, and I certainly have no interest in calling you a a b word for
A
actually
bigot. Yeah,
calling
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, reality
But
will actually dictate what words you should use. We don't have a whole hell of a lot of choice in that,
no,
you know.
but when you have a democracy like we have, which is supposed to be great and all that stuff, and you have people just coming from countries that are socialist countries where they've been offered their whole life the scam of free this and free that, and then they end up in a collapsed society. Like, I'm sorry, as somebody who's from here, if they were all white people and were just socialists, if it was just the population of Sweden was coming here and they wanted free healthcare, I would be like, I would have the same reaction. I don't need you coming here and expecting something that you just lived through and failed. Don't bring it here. Like, you're just gonna now. If you want to come here and work your ass off, I'd rather trade 14,000 lazy Americans for you. That's
If we
just me.
had a citizen exchange program, wouldn't that be fucking great? Because I
Oh my
bet you
god,
the fucking lazy Americans
would love it.
give
I would
give them
absolutely
five
love it.
years on a farm in Honduras, and they'll come back thinking they have, they'll come back with work ethic, or they won't come back.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
fact. No,
yeah.
I hear you there. But here's the thing. This is what bothers me a lot about this, and here I don't know if everybody knows this. It has less to do with the migrant caravan news coverage than the actual fucking way these all right, apologize for swearing about these people before I even go into their civics, but yeah, it pisses me off. How's that? Be prepared for that.
Yeah.
But they make they make their money off of middling their own citizens who come over here to work.
Hmm.
It's not it's recidivism, I think, that could be the term just going back to prison, but I also think it applies to this, and this is what's really sad. If you go to any inner city and you check out, the bodegas and stuff, they sell tons and tons of phone cards, and you might think, why the hell do these people need phone cards in 2018? Well, their crooked governments have also set it up so they can't call their mom. We got a 22-year-old boy who walked here from Honduras, and he can't call his parents to tell them that he got here without buying one of these cards. Now, the government taxes these at sometimes 80% of their value. So even calling them, you have to pay international phone rates. So the cards, and you can't call these numbers. You get to a block in their system. Their actual infrastructure will keep you from calling them. You know, so I'm sure there's ways around it. The internet's a hell of a thing, but if you're talking about people who are dirt poor and don't have a computer, that's great. You have access to the internet here. They don't have it down there. You have to call them on a landline, or God only knows what. Maybe even I'm telling you, these people are broke. I'm not trying to make fun of them. I'm just explaining they're broke. They might even have to have a community line, like at a a tavern or something that people share and pay for. They don't have any money to eat. So um, for every $10 they spend on these phone cards, they get $2 worth of talk time to their mom. That sucks. But again, too, sending money is impossible too, because the taxes on how they make you exchange rate. It could be up to 30% of every dollar. So the government is fully aware that the radio is telling all their citizens to send all the healthy males to America. They are fully aware this is going to fund their crooked socialist government. They have no actual way of doing it themselves. They blew all the resources. They ruined the economy. So they have to leech off of ours. They have to. And that's what really makes me upset about all of this, because these young men don't know this necessarily. They don't know anything about politics. They haven't been taught any of this. They've probably been taught a bunch of Marxist crap about community and family and all these other really ridiculous things. They might consider that value, but they're getting screwed. They're getting screwed so hard. I mean, again, the $2 might seem like a hell of a lot of money to a guy who's only seen 10 his entire life. But immediately these people start to Americanize, and they realize that they start getting angry. It's not really good for anybody. And I mean, their lives stink here too. They're making minimum wage, and then they're sending most of their money home, and the government's taking a they get taxed here. They get taxed on the way down there. It's just tax, tax, tax. Even the illegal immigrants are getting screwed on taxes, and they're not. We get nothing as citizens. I get nothing except lower wages and longer lines at the hospital and worse care. And my schools have 40 languages being spoken in them, and I'm starting to get sick of all of this.
Yeah, that's what you get. But the thing is, that's not what's not even sold, but like the reality, that narrative that's sold is that, oh well, they bring their culture and blah 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 blah. You know what? That's what they do. They blur. I mean, like they've already blurred the terms. When I say they, I mean politicians. They blurred the terms. We think about it. Immigrant. Now, if you say immigrant, that means you hate. If you say like immigrant, they in their mind you mean the border jumper guy. Like there's no difference
Immigrant?
between
No, yeah, exactly.
there's no difference between like somebody from like South Korea that came here to like go to college at Harvard and somebody who's escaping a socialist country in Central America. There's no difference. It's just you hate that guy. You hate. I'm not, and I don't hate me personally. I don't hate either one. I don't believe in any of this. But I'm just talking about trying to have a political, discourse in the country. You can't mention, like you said, the governments of these countries are making them leech off the American economy to fund their operation. And then Americans, like, the South Park, they took my job people. What do they call these people? Leeches. They call them leeches. They call them leeches. And they're not like you said, individually, these guys are just, they don't know what the fuck they're just, they need jobs. Much like in North Africa, the North African migrants going into Southern Europe, they're not Syrian. Those guys are just trying to get jobs, and they're crossing the Mediterranean to get there. Now, are they getting not bussed, boated, shipped there by boats sponsored and paid for by our Hungarian buddy? Yeah. And does he have a plan for them? Yes, but the individuals are just trying to go where the money is. But you have Americans here that are going to look at them and they're told that they're leeches. And technically, there is a leeching situation going on. But like everything else, politicians on all sides pit all the people against each other, and then all the politicians just kind of live, together in harmony for 35 to 40 years. When we should all just kind of focus our attention on, like, that's the thing. Like when they get here, we should go, hey, since you're in America now, let's explain to you why your country, your government failed you. So when you go back or you call on those phone calls, you call home your mom, you can tell her, hey, that whole socialism thing, fucking terrible. The Americans that have all the money told me that. But
Yeah.
it's like and I think that's the fear of a lot of Americans that I talk to. It's not a racial thing. It's like a cultural thing. When people, like, I live in a very, I'm a minority in where I live. I'm a white male. I'm a minority, and I'm not in the inner city. It's all immigrants from the Middle East and Asia. It's all Asian, all different kind of, and they all work their asses off. But the culture has changed, and I've just dealt with it because it's not a cultural change that really affects me. But I can imagine it being a cultural change where all of a sudden you're just some guy living in the country, and then all of a sudden, like my parents live in more of a country area in New Jersey, and the politics in their town is changing because the voters are changing. And my father, for example, or somebody, my cousin or somebody out there, would say, all I want them to do is have IDs, man. Like, I just don't know who these people. He's like, I just drive down the street and there's just
Oh, jeez.
people.
I'll get
Where
into
are they coming
IDs
from,
later
and why
though.
can't I? You know, it's
Oh
like
man,
that
because we
ID
got a
thing.
big issue with IDs here. But for the couple guys in the audience, I don't know, is it
Oh, we got no, we got
Cree? I gotta hear this man's names live. It's CRE47IV3. I don't know if this. Oh, creative, awesome. Because yeah, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
I didn't. I was gonna butcher it. Yeah, he's cool. Glad to have a new guy in the Discord chat. We got Patient Zero. Uh, he's always a buddy to have around. That's awesome. Yeah, we're talking about the migrant caravan that started in places like Honduras mainly, but it's picked up steam in Guatemala and Ecuador and a few other Central American countries south of Mexico. Now
Yes.
they've broken into Mexico, and I literally do mean broken into. They kicked down the fence. They pushed over the border patrol and they shoved their way through. Now, a lot of people in our media are downplaying the fact that they literally did this, and they have no opinion on authority being actually a problem for them because they have way more numbers. And again, like they're going to push this to an issue that we're trying to avoid on the U.S. border because Mexico has done everything they can to give these people asylum and help them out and give them the food and water and medical attention supposedly that they possibly could. But they're going now because like we've been. That was part of the discussion too. Is what the hell are they thinking? I mean, I again too. I don't have a problem with people coming here legally immigrating here. That of course not. That doesn't make no difference to me. I don't care where they come from either. If they're from a third world, first world, I really don't care. It really just depends on what it's going to mean to me. You could call it selfish, but one thing I'll never do on this show is virtue signal or pretend I'm more altruistic than I actually am. And yeah, it's a real pain in my ass dealing with all these people. I'm just saying, I'm trying to move out of a major city because it really has been a tax nightmare. And what he was saying too, it's not that I'm saying that I lost my culture and I even care about that. I really don't care about even losing my culture. I care about losing good doctors. I care about losing good teachers. I care about like losing my house to ever growing taxes that I can't afford and ridiculous things to that effect. I care about all that. I care about my kids, not going to school ever again with somebody who was involved in a Rwandan genocide. That really pissed me off. I'm just saying, there's things, and like I'll go over it 100 times too. I have actual friends from the area that when I worked as a contractor for a major media corporation. The other contractors were the only people I wanted to hang out with. I didn't want to hang out with my clients' employees because I was babysitting them. It wasn't the same thing. I just want to explain. The only reason I know about their culture and speak Spanish is because I hung out with the people from there. And they told me all about it. They told me exactly how the lifestyle is, how much money they get to keep that at when they're working in America. And I mean, you see this forlorn look in their eye because they don't want to be in a place like New Hampshire with 3 feet of snow outside, cleaning up garbage for a bunch of fucking unappreciated foreigners. They don't want to do it, but their dad is going to starve and their grandma needs them. And again, too, medicine's expensive, so when you're thinking about like working construction for an entire day, you get like $10 or something like that. What are you gonna do? You're gonna afford your cancer treatment? It's just out of the question. So they're in they've been fed what I'm saying is they've been fed a bunch of false narratives that the United States is going to be able to do something about this. Problem is like they've been openly interviewed saying it's not political. They're not afraid of their home countries. They're not coming here for the traditional reasons you would what would you call it? The traditional reasons you would seek asylum. They're saying they have the same immigrant story that I've grown up hearing around here, and it's the one. It's fine that they want to seek freedom and they want to solve all their problems, but they're under a false impression. And what the narrative is I'm a bad person or I dislike them as people. I'm just saying it's like we can't afford it. And they're going to get hurt. I'm sure of it. They're not going to get what they want. So if we're all going to pretend to be altruistic or we all care about people, well then we should probably not have these people storming the fence down in Texas because they're going to get shot with at least riot control stuff. We're not going to let them bust in like Mexico did. We're not gonna. It's going to be a big problem. So you know, and I don't know. I'm not defending America, by the way. This guy, if he wants to say that, I mean, yeah, America. We're going to talk about the Saudis, actually. Not a problem. Not defending America. This is what we're trying to say. If 80,000 or, you know, what do you call it, or even 8,000 Trump supporters were marching up through Mexico to make California red again, to make it Republican again, trust me, the narrative in the mainstream media would be saying these are the most evil things that ever happened. We have to stop them. We have to send the National Guard. I promise you, CNN, MSNBC, all these people would be saying this is the worst human suffering ever. We have to stop them where they are. We have to find out who is paying for the advertisements to go on the radio in their country. I wouldn't have to do all the damn research myself to figure all this shit out and learn a foreign language just to know even what I know. So that's where we're at. That's what this show is all about. It's not trying to go America rah rah rah. I don't give a shit. You know, I was born here because I was born here. You know, and again, it's because we had to leave European socialism. I can talk about that all you want, but if you want to know why my ancestors came over there on the boat, just watch The Sound of Music, man. We were the only people that didn't want to fly the socialist flag on the block, and we were about to get killed for it, so we had to cut the hell out of there. You know, so you know, you can say anything you want about America too. It's just, you know, you can name a better system, I dare you. We could go on that, but you know, we weren't going to defend America all day. I was just telling you, these people are screwed. They're misunderstood. In our media, at least, they don't understand our country, our rules, our laws. They've been fed a load of shit, and I feel terrible for people who had to walk 10,000 miles through a desert to be told to screw once they got here. That's all there is to that. That sucks to be them, is what I'm saying. You know, South America. You know, we can talk about Venezuela all you want too, if you guys want to get into that. But no chains. You can put that link back in. I would love it because we've been following the narrative coming out.
Before we get Saudi Arabia, Creative has been. He made the point in the chat, and he's 100% accurate. You know, ironically, these countries like Honduras, for example, and Venezuela, now they do have a socialist bend to them, of course, and that's just the culture, and that's fine. But of course, we know as Americans, Greg, that the U.S. government doesn't like socialism very much, and it's not for any reason that they want to save people from it. It's that they can't control it. So, you know, ironically, on top of the socialism that
I'm gonna have to stop you right there. That assertion, I don't really follow the assertion. We can't control socialism. We can control socialist countries better than any other country on the planet. They're fucking broke.
We don't sell ourselves as, like, Hillary Clinton doesn't run as a democratic socialist. That's what I'm saying. She'll go down to Honduras and make sure that Mr. Ortega, who I don't like at all, but because he's a socialist.
No. Ortega's not from Honduras. You're mixing Nicaragua and Honduras. We've never messed with Honduras. We give Honduras and these countries I'm naming, we give them $500 million a year. We don't mess with them. We've never thrown a coup. We've never lit a fire. The CIA's never fucked with them. If you go to Panama and places south, if you go to Nicaragua, sure, but we never.
Venezuela we fucked with. For sure.
Venezuela, yeah, but I'm talking about Central America. And we stayed in South America. That's what I mean. That's a whole other conversation.
Well, Nicaragua we fucked with, but I think
that's a different continent, though. You know, these people have nothing to do with all that. They have nothing to do with Ortega. And I mean, their socialism is basically not even socialism. They just have weird despots. They have like an oligarchy and peasants. They don't really have a traditional system. They had socialism, but ultimately it went to its natural end where there's only rich and poor and cops.
Yeah,
I mean,
the government controls. It's a simple socialism where the people all the power to a guy, and then they say we trust you, almighty government, to hand us things. So that's what I mean by. And I'm just saying.
Oh, but we can control the ever-living shit out of them because we're going to just say we're not giving you $500 million and we're not going to buy your fucking bananas anymore. So, yeah, we have them by the balls. They can't do shit. Yeah, they're broke. They can't buy any weapons. They can't do a fucking thing. We got them by the balls.
That. But the reason there's been a focus on from our governments since, I don't know, the beginning of the 80s is because anytime any of these leaders said the word commie or socialist, our government's mortal enemy, decided we're going to try to back them, or we thought that maybe the Soviets would back them, so we had to go in there. So what I'm saying is, you get a culture much like a Middle Eastern culture, where you get a culture that has this maybe a socialist background, or in the Middle East they have their own issues, and you just pile on top of that just constant meddling from outside, depending on whatever country. I mean, I've been to Costa Rica, half the country's owned by China. You're not
Yeah,
going to get,
China's a. Oof.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you're
you're
not
right
gonna
about
get.
that.
You can't really get these people to friggin'. You can't get these society. Like I always say, hey, you want to fix the Middle East? Leave it alone for a couple centuries and see what the fuck. I don't know if it's gonna be better or not, but I know. Anytime, like if you and me were having a conversation on the street, or we were having an argument on the street, a constructive argument on the street, and every 15 minutes a bomb like fell like right on top
Oh
of
yeah.
us, or near us, we'd be like, well, I don't even know what the hell we were talking about.
If
But
every
I will
time
say,
if every
I will
time I
say
heard a
this.
plane, wait, real quick, if every time I heard a
Yeah,
plane go over my head, I thought I had to duck and cover, and I thought about my dead brother or something like that, I'd
yeah,
think about the guy who did it or the country that did it or blame somebody. I'd be
of
upset
course.
my whole life long if
Oh,
every time I
yeah,
heard a plane, I'd have to think about that.
yeah.
I would be
Oh,
pissed.
and I do want to bring up Honduras again because I anytime I can make Hillary Clinton, I can point out one of her evil things. I do. So Honduras had a coup in 2009. I don't know if this, I got no coverage here. She was Secretary of State, and so I got Ortega wrong. You would call me out on that. That's correct. But they had some, generic, I'm kind of leftist, I'm for the worker people guy running, and Hillary didn't like him too much. So she did go down there and fuck around with him a little bit. So Honduras, now I don't know if that still reverberates
Well,
in 2018, but
yeah,
she did fuck up that country a little bit.
I know more about the period I guess we were talking about. I guess especially in the chat
Post,
too.
right?
Then yeah, because Hillary, what she did, I get lost. I can't even get past what she did in the Middle East. It's so bad. There's so much
Yeah.
information and so much
Well,
shit.
she did
So
at the same. She did it
I
at the
don't
same
know
time.
near as much as I want to know
That's the thing.
about
She did it
that.
at the same time.
Lit the
That's
world
the
on
thing.
fire, that lady. It would have been so bad if she got elected.
Oh
But
my God, it would be
here's the
like
thing. I mean, and again, I'm not defending America though, but I know that there's a bunch of it's hard to it's hard to get into what happened in South America without saying first and foremost that most of it wasn't actually the official United States government. And I'm not
no,
copping out or
absolutely
making
not.
an excuse. What I'm trying to
No,
say,
you're right,
especially with
100%.
Ortega in Nicaragua, that was a rogue group within our government, our deep state guys who thought they could get away with anything, including murder, apparently, who did
Hmm.
all that shit. And
Yeah.
again, too, they did not have permission from the administration or the Congress. They did this completely illegally. And they said they were doing it officially. They were dropping off guns and selling cocaine, and they were doing all these horrible things. All this happened, and I'm not excusing any of it. I'm just saying that it wasn't Reagan. And as far as like Panama goes, too, these are I write about this a lot. Corporations, especially in America or any capitalist society, can get so big and powerful that they do get beyond the laws and scope of the government where they're based out of. So when corporations were setting up banana republics, literally phony banana trades to put,
Hmm.
they created an oligarchy where there wasn't one, and they just installed all these leaders. That's what a banana republic. It's just a fake government that's run by a corporation from afar. And yes, we did that. But again, we as the people, you could say all Americans are responsible for stuff that happened before I was born. I guess so. I
Nah,
can't argue
no.
too much, but at the
Well,
same
that's
time,
that's the
like,
point. Yeah,
you know,
that's the point
and
I
you're
made.
right.
I
What?
made to creative in the chat. Like, there's a huge. Believe me, there's a huge difference between Americans and the U.S. government did. There's just a huge gap, and that's the way I like to preface that. Like, I mean, you and me weren't going. Well, I wasn't around, but you and me were not like cheering on the CIA's like corrupt fucking covert operations in
Oh
South in
no, no, no.
Central America. No, so
I can only
but my
defend
point.
history, but I can't defend any of this. It's
But my
horrible.
point is,
It
if you live in
sucks,
a
and it's still
country,
go. It's
but
still going on. Like all these
yeah,
problems, like, people have a righteous anger towards our country for these reasons, and I don't
well,
dispute that
I
they're
think
right.
there's a, I think there,
I
I
just
think
still
there's,
going straight out the facts is all I can ever do is
yeah,
and
but I
hope for the
think some of that
best.
righteous anger, I think some of that time that righteous anger annoys me, like especially when it comes from Europeans. And I'll say that in generally, but
Oh
I'll
well,
I'll,
fuck
I'll
that.
preface it by saying this: when you come from when when I get it from people. I live 8 minutes from New York, so I get it all the time from people coming in and out, and they say, "Well, you Americans do this," and then they just say something that government did had nothing to do with anybody voting on it, and I go, "But you come from a country that has a king and a queen, and you've never been free. So like you come from a society where if the leader did it, you serfs just kind of had to deal with it, and that was your nationalistic, Germany did X or England did X. Unless you were like, I mean, they have this vibe and they come here and they bring it with them, where it's like, well, you Americans need, and I go, no. Here, real Americans, to me, like separate themselves from what the government does. The ones that don't are literally all the people that I don't like in politics. The people who want to use politics to like shape the culture their way. That is to me the most un-American thing you can do. But I do see that's not a straight a European thing, but like a country where you've never been. It's never been about the individual, and then you dictate to the government, and when the government gets out of hand, you get your guns that you have a right to, and you shoot them. If you don't come from a country that ever has even had that thought, you're not going to be in the mindset of, well, my government's separate from me. Now, I'm not saying that's a generality, of course, but I see that vibe, and that's kind of thing. I mean, I'll get a little defensive when that kind of happens. I go, hey man, don't the whole Europe is better than us thing. I completely roll my eyes on that, but just in general, like, hey, don't come here and say, well, you guys did this. Like, that's not how things operate or should operate here. This is not how a majority of Americans think. Like I just drove
Most
through.
of them don't.
No, well, they
think
don't
about
think.
much.
But
They
I
don't
mean,
think about
but
anything.
I just drove through upstate New York this weekend. I went up to Cooperstown, and I'm just driving for 3.5 hours. I go, and I'm just thinking, none of these fucking people out here. Sorry, excuse my language. Out here in rural New York, like when they go to bed at night, they don't go, I wonder what King Cuomo did today, and if it reflects on me. Like they don't. It's not even in their brain. It's not how they operate. So, I mean, I just wanted to bring that up for when people hammer on America, or Americans should do this, or we're coming up to your country and bringing our culture. When you start mixing the government with the culture and society, it's
Yeah.
very un-American to me, and it creeps me out. But you're going to
Yeah.
get that in a democracy, and that's why a direct democracy, as Creative said, that's when you're going to get a direct democracy, which I guess the majority of America enjoys it once now.
Well,
They
we're
don't
not a
enjoy this.
democracy in America. We're a republic, and
Well, I
we
know,
have.
yeah.
No, I'm just saying to people. I don't know. You can tell me where you guys are from. That would probably help a little bit.
That would probably
'Cause,
help. Yeah.
yeah, but Argentina. Okay, yeah. Sorry
Cool.
to be from. I mean, I hope everything's going well. If you're not on Steam It, you should definitely be on Steam It. Let me know what we could do to start getting you promotions and stuff. We're all about it in the information war, and on Decentralized News is we're definitely a Steam It connected show, crypto guys, and yeah, dude,
Nice.
that's what it's all
Yeah,
about.
Yeah, we'll get that out there. But it's fine. Nobody.
But
That's how, not in the beginning. Nobody reads in the beginning. That's how it
so
works.
yeah, but basically, see, here's a fun fact about America too is half of the people, and I'm maybe even a little more than half of the people, are walking around convinced that if they vote for Hillary Clinton, they're a virtuous person because they believe in progressive values. They don't know anything about politics. They just think that they're good people and bad people. It's just Monarchian nonsense. It's black and white, and they think that the other team is bad. That's it. They think that if you vote for that team, that means you're a racist or you are selfish or whatever because you want to starve the kids by decreasing the tax dollars flowing to the schools or something to that effect. And they don't
couldn't
really.
agree more.
Oh, we got a new guy in the live broadcast. I don't know, but how you doing?
Hey guys, how are you doing? Glad to be here.
Oh, all right.
I don't mean to change the subject, but I have big news to talk to people about, and I'm not sure how well you guys are informed about nuclear power and advanced nuclear power.
Well, I know a bit about it, but I don't know what the hell. Sure, why not? Go ahead, man. You got a link to drop in? You can go and do that too. Why not?
I can send some links.
So you might as well bring up nukes now because we'll get to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, we
So,
were gonna get into Saudi too. Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for the molten salt reactor and it's a type of advanced nuclear reactor. And in a nutshell, without getting into too many details, I believe, and many others believe, that this is the technology of the future. This is what we're going to have our cake and eat it too. We're going to be able to be green, have unlimited power, and have it all. Thorium. Thorium is that potential, and it doesn't make nuclear bombs. It it just has every positive thing that like fusion could ever have, a free energy source that you would want to have. This is that technology, and Donald Trump is behind it and had directed the Department of Energy to check its viability, and they have. And the Department of Energy has given almost $100 million to molten salt reactor groups to move forward on this technology. And I, for one, am just thrilled to have a president that cares about this technology and has moved forward on it. Really.
Well, how else are we gonna get the Space Force going, man? If we can't get
man, we need
anything
to
like that,
expect-
that's some
we need
Star
to-
Trek shit right there.
But do you have any? Have you written anything that we can link?
Oh yes, of course. Hold on, I'll send it to
Yeah,
you right now.
throw that. No, just throw it in the chat. Because we are live on YouTube
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, this
So
is a
just throw it in the chat, and we'll definitely. I mean, I don't know if you've been posting through information wars, but we can definitely spread that around. Yeah, for sure. I would definitely post it right in the chat channel. I know Greg wanted to get into Saudi before I went over about South America, so yeah, I did post that thing today about. That's kind of like.
well, I just think it's really good
tea is that-
information, man.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
my cup of tea has always been, ever since pretty much I was 17 years old and I lived this close to New York, and pretty much my entire politics has been shaped around September 11th. It just has. It just always has been this unanswered question of mine, and not to be conspiratorial or anything like that.
Well,
So
there
I've
was a
always just
conspiracy. There really
Of
was.
course,
There's no that's
100%.
what we have to use the word for, if anything. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
But my point is, like, I've never gotten over focusing on that region of the country, of the world, and people like to go, well, there's more domestic issues at home. I go, hey man, all of this stems from this crazy shit that you let these politicians do in this other part of the world. Like, you do understand that, like, the reason bread is $7, not 100% because of the war, but like it all flows. So if you don't understand this at all, you're going to get sold as Greg and me will get into, but you're going to get sold that this guy that chopped up in Turkey, not saying he was a bad guy or good guy. I don't know the guy. I don't know his family, but like, you're going to get sold that he was some like, epic freedom fighting journalist, in some Hollywood movie that like fought the regime. And it's just like, that's not accurate. And I think my view on foreign policy is very simple. If you live in, I don't want to make fun of a country. If you live in Lithuania or you live in Luxembourg, you don't really need to focus on foreign affairs because your government isn't doing shit. But when you live on the Death Star, like me and Greg do, where we don't really have a say in this shit, you gotta kind of have to pay attention. Like, why do people hate us? Well, like, you can find out why they hate you. Like, it's not hard. Like, you can go look
God
up,
bless
like,
the internet. Yeah.
Like, I live in a town myself that's a majority from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, and Iran, that area. You ask them, why do you not like X in USA? And they go, because my village is now bombed to the ground. I go, valid point. And that's it. It's very simple. So I've always focused on that. So the Saudi thing came up, and I just had to regurgitate all the info I had on all these princes. And it's a Game of Thrones going on over there. And the thing that interests me about the killing of this guy is not even the killing, and not even the Saudis covering it up, because duh, they're a medieval, what monarchy. I mean, why would they not just kill a guy that they don't like? That doesn't make any, like, they're probably confused. Like, why are you even making? What do you mean? Of course we killed him. My freak out was the reaction of, well, one, just the U.S. public in general, and like the media. Why is this being pumped up? And then
There was so much misinformation. Like I said, I'm so glad you did what you did. Because the only way to get even half of what you were saying, I'm sure you had to dig and dig and dig and dig, because everything is nonsense. They were pointing. People were saying on actual news networks that this guy was like an American citizen somehow, or he had some connection to Virginia. Like this guy was some old good old boy, and it was getting really weird.
Yeah,
Obviously,
well, to
that's
be
not
honest,
true. So you,
no, he doesn't. But I would preface, if they ever say to you, if there's any, for anybody out there, if there's anybody that dies and they're in media, or they were a politician, or they were a leader in another country, or a coup guy, or somebody trying to be installed as a coup, and they had like connections to Virginia, yeah, take that with a grain of salt, because the odds are that Virginia's where most of the the government people live. Like, for example, that guy in Turkey who they got blamed on that recent coup attempt. He like was living in Virginia in a CIA house that they gave him, and he was just supposed to live there for 20 years until they were ready to install him as the next dictator. So if this guy was connected to Virginia, it wasn't for any good reason.
yeah,
But
if
what
he went to a school campus one day, probably to go to a frat party and get
of
laid. I
course,
really don't believe that.
yeah,
At this rate, this narrative, that he had any interest in us in any way other than maybe, like like you were saying, probably connection to hurting us in somehow. You
no, of
know.
course. The only reason this is a scandal in the media, well, twofold. One is the Washington Post, which Trump hates, so they're trying to push him to say something mean about this guy. So say, look, he doesn't mind when journalists get murdered. Trump
Yeah.
handled that correctly. But second is, and this really just this is where they I don't want to this is where they expose themselves. When you have the first two senators out there agreeing with like a Rand Paul, who's been hammering on Saudi Arabia since he got in office for the right reasons, like, hey, they chop people's heads off and they might have funded 9/11, like, hey, let's go investigate these pieces of shit. When you have Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio like immediately going, we need to do a regime change. We need to get this guy out of there. For somebody like me who knows that it's a Game of Thrones over there, and the whole royal family is not on the same team, you have to kind of back up and go, okay, what's going on here? And that, like, if you read my article, the connections I connect are, it's very simple. The old guard was pushed out by this new crown prince and his father. Um, and the old guard was, if anybody remembers Prince Bandar, who is best friends with Bush, and if you're a 9/11 person, you know all this. You know the people that got flown out of the country. You know the Bin Laden connections. You know all that stuff. The people that this reporter was buddies with, and the princes that put him in charge of newspapers and put him on editorial staffs and let him speak his mind, were those princes, the ones in charge of Saudi intelligence prior to 9/11. Prince Bandar, the radical
Yeah.
Wahhabi guys. He fought. I posted in that article. I have a video. There's actually a photo of him with the. I love how
Yeah.
he
I
actually
just
had the
I
rocket
same
launcher on his
same.
shoulder.
You read my yeah, exactly. You read my mind, or I read yours, man, because it
There it
just
is.
popped.
Like, he literally has it on his shoulder.
That was what I needed to see the whole time. Oh yeah, this guy's a sweetheart. You know what I mean? Just a real every man. I could really sympathize for him now.
Yeah, but
Real. You live by the sword, obviously. That's all. I mean, if nothing else, you could say he was fighting for something great. He was a terrorist. I don't really know. I mean, I suppose it all depends on perspective. I'm somewhat of a Norseman. I read all my Nordic mythology before I read the Bible. So to me, everybody's fucking Loki out there. I don't know what else to say. Even Odin was a dick every once in a while. So just the way it was.
yeah. But my point was, like, he might be a freedom fighting, reforming journalist within the context and of Saudi Arabia right now, but he's not like a Glenn Greenwald or something. Like, the people are acting like he's that guy. You know, um, you got that photo there. You have the Bin Laden connection, and it just creeps me out because, again, when anytime all the media channels just focus on a country and go, we need to get rid of X. They're attempting to sell a war, and they just are, like, every time. And when it's Saudi Arabia, all of a sudden goes from like number one ally other than Israel in the Middle East to, we need to regime change them. You have to look into it. And I think Trump's gonna not cave, because I mean, I'm not saying this guy's a good guy, but he has attempted to liberalize the royal family, if that makes sense, and kind of cut off that connection to, hey, we're gonna outsource all that crazy Wahhabism that we fund to all your countries, and then when your people die, we'll just buy more guns from your politicians so you guys just forget about it. He's just kind of backing off that, but at the same time, he starts the war in Yemen because he's a sick fuck. So this might actually work in our advantage in terms of ending the war in Yemen. So you have a Rand Paul who can go, see, this guy kills journalists. Why are we supporting his war? So it's a weird situation to be in.
Well, that's what I was thinking about. This is why I was getting pissed off about Trump. And I mean, I looked at the numbers too, and I started doing a little bit of sort of sympathy for the devil in a way, because I kind of get it. It was like this stuff, all these deals, all this stuff, this power struggle, and I'd say our government's been working for the Saudi kings. It's just my whole life at least, probably longer than that, maybe 100 years, maybe 150. I don't know. But we've been
FDR.
Yeah, and it's been like that, and I can put it in again too. I mean, it doesn't show up on the other chats, but it's just Trump pointing to all. It's like basically a shopper's guide to all the machines of death that we sell, and if anyone wants to criticize us, yeah, we make the best machines of death, and yeah, we make good money selling them. We're talking billions of dollars. So the reason why he was pissing me off, and again, he's actually come out and said, yeah, they're full of shit. He was being overly polite, and I called him out on it. But now he's at least going, yeah, their story sucks. They suck. The whole thing sucks. But he's not going to change. He's not going to change the deal.
Yeah.
He's not going to put all those people out of work. We're going to sell. Yeah, it was the laziest cover up. This is my joke about it. I mean, I suppose even people in Argentina watch Game of Thrones, but that fucking guy is like Prince Joffrey. There's a scene where he's like, he tried to kill his uncle, and it's like you had a gold cloak kill my uncle in try to kill my uncle in plain sight in front of 100 people. Are you an idiot? He's like, yeah, that's how idiotic he is. That's how dumb this guy is. It's like Prince Joffrey is going to inherit Saudi Arabia. This is, you know what I mean? I like reading this stuff because honestly, I could write a fucking fantasy novel and just use this stuff, change a couple names, and probably get a bestseller because they're nuts, and we're selling them. I get pissed off too because I don't just look into the United States is a corporation. We are our own military industrial complex, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? We sell these planes, we sell these bombs, we sell soldiers to train your guys to use them. We sell death. We have it on lockdown. We're about to be selling death in outer space. Stay tuned for that. That's gonna get interesting. But it's probably what we need all those batteries and thorium and carbon technology for, so we can launch them up there and never have to worry about maintenance. But if you want to get mad at us for that, sure. But it is so much money, and our economy is so the actual exports is that and microchips that China's probably stealing or at least messing with anyway. It's really staying ahead of things means blowing up everybody who's competing with us in a sense. But I get pissed off at Saudi Arabia not just for what they do with us and to their neighbors. They work with people like Dow Chemical to poison third world countries by helping them buy the government so they could set up a dirty factory and it'll blow up in a place like India and they don't even care. This is what's going on with them. They're, like I said, they work with corporations that have grown out of the normal control of the base country they're from. That is an issue, and they don't give a fuck. They're helping, so they're the ones, oh yeah, you want to set up a disgusting chemical plant? Well, we got these asshole dissidents in this part of our country. It's mostly sand. Set up there. Poison the earth. Fuck it. Make some, Roundup. You can make some Roundup in the Kurdish region or on the Kurdish border. Go ahead. Yeah, make it in Yemen. I mean, they're selling slaves if you want to have that going too. It's a real good fucking time. These people have no morals or scruples. They scare the hell out of me. It's like, they live in the Red Keep and they walk around like kings because it's true. They do. It's actually true.
Yeah, I just posted an article from Daniel Lazare, Consortium News. I posted it. I haven't read it yet, but he was interviewed on a radio show that I listened to, and he made the point about, and I'm sure Greg, you've heard of this theory, but it was written originally by an old historian from Tunisia back in the 1400s, but it applies to everything, where the third generation of the rich family always fucks everything up because he's a spoiled little brat, and he has no connection to the warlord or the rural whatever background of that family that made the move, or like in America it would be like that first generation immigrant. By the third generation, they've given up all that work ethic for easiness. So you have a guy like you said, this guy's like Joffrey. His entire life, everybody he tells what to do does what they are told, or they're dead.
Or they disappear like this guy. Just he's not used to people taking cameras and releasing the footage.
I'm gonna kill him, and I'm gonna call him an hour before I kill him, and I'm not gonna really cover it up. I mean, he started a war in Yemen that he literally can't win. Like, the Iranians literally warned the Saudis, like, hey, we're not gonna get involved, but those Houthis up there in the north of Yemen, like, you're not gonna be able to kill them all. And we've also warned them that if they get involved in fighting you, the entire country's going to get destroyed. So, like, they were warned by everybody, the Saudis, that that war is not going to win. Ironically, that's why I put that at the hands of Barack Obama, because all he had to do was say we're not funding it, and it wouldn't happen. But that reminds him, and that's all I have to say when people bring up Obama now. I go, oh, Mr. Obama, your savior. Let me show you. Here's all the babies that he's killed, and then I go away. Yemen goes away. That's why Yemen continues on, is because Rachel Maddow can never speak its name because she can't connect it only to Trump, and that's why Yemen will never be brought up. Because I mean, now Trump can end it now easily by just saying Obama made a mistake. He let this horrible thing take place. I'm ending it. The end. But but you're never going to hear. There's not going to be a liberal anti-war movement. But that's a side thing. But this guy
that would be weird. That would be weird, right? If the hippies stood up against the war, wouldn't that be the weirdest damn thing you've ever seen?
Yeah, I know, right? But this
guy, there's no hypocrisy in what's going on. There's actually a meme in our chat that it's one of the newer ones about the NPCs, and it's funny. But then when you start thinking about it, it's sort of like that Candace Owens meme that went around. There's an old woman who says this. I've never protested in my whole life, but now there's a bad man, and I had to say something. It's like, so you sat through Jim Crow, you sat through the Vietnam War, you sat through, you didn't say anything, but now because Orange Man bad, are you kidding me? Out of control. But that reminds me too, like, the title of this video is actually Trump rallies versus Obama rallies, and I have to, even if we run long, I have to tell you a story about what's going on in my hometown, because it affects everything, which sucks. It's
okay.
Pisses. It's another thing that I got to gripe. But this is funny, man, because I thought that most of the Democrat stuff, that even Hillary and you could see like Maxine Waters, nobody's showing up. The Democratic rallies, this blue wave is like more of a fucking foam, and it's not working out well for them, because it seems to me that nobody's showing up. Barack Obama's been touring, which is unusual, because most presidents don't campaign for anybody after they're done being president. They get like he got his Nobel Peace Prize 2 days into the job, so I guess he can't look forward to that. But usually they open a library and they go like, ranch on a farm, or I guess he can't do that, but he'd probably go to Chicago and be a socialite or something. They go back to their former life in some capacity. But this guy his former life apparently is constantly campaigning. So I guess that is what he's doing. And it's kind of hilarious to think about it like that. I mean, a guy whose only job is to run for office. He's never really had one. So he doesn't have like any real life experience. He can't like go ranch. He can't go hang out with horses like a Reagan. He can't do brushwork like a Bush. He can't do, I don't even know, Jimmy Carter grew corn or something. He went and did that. But again, peanuts or something, exactly. Like, he can't do anything. He doesn't know how to do anything. He's a completely, tits on a bull type of guy. He's fucking useless, It's absolutely, it's so, like, I guess he's gone back to his former life. But the problem is, because he's not actually running for anything, and he's, the Democrats don't have much of a message, except that, America first is bad. You know what I mean? Like I said, half the country really walks around saying, the only political message that they know is the other side is evil, and I have to stop the Nazis. I have to stand against sexism. It's like, you guys are the only ones talking about sex and race. Like, we all want to leave that out of it. We don't care. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's only the left that wants to talk. They're the only ones divide. Like, so they have this weird divisive message that only pisses people like me off, because it's like ruining my family primetime TV. can't even watch it with my kids because it's all social justice messages and it's all
Yeah.
it's all groupthink nonsense. I can't take it
Well,
anymore.
that's the thing. It's all groupthink, and that's what I've seen in my everyday life. Is I have not met. Here's the two people that I meet. I meet Trump supporters. Oh, okay, three. Trump supporters, people who are just don't want to get screamed at anymore. Like literally, they don't care what the words that are in without that are being screamed at them. They're just tired of like the volume. Like shut the fuck up. So they're gonna vote for Trump. They're gonna vote for Trump. They know that it's gonna get louder, but they're to the point where they're like, you know what? Your children and your timeout is going to be on voting for Trump. And that's the
Yeah.
second group. And the third group is this other group. Because I don't meet any of these social justice warriors. I really don't, because they don't want to meet me. They just don't. I won't insult them or make them cry. I'll just make them feel stupid in front of normal people, and then they'll have to go back to their blogs. But the people that I do meet that don't like Trump, it's the all they have left is he says stupid things, and I go, yeah, he does, but he's the president of the government. He's not your father. Like if it was your father wandering around saying dumb shit, drunk, making ridiculous statements, you should be concerned at night and feel like, like go to bed and be like, man, he was really making our family look bad. But he's the president of the government. So I go, I don't know why that bothers you so much. And they go, well, he reflects bad internationally on us. I go, only if you associate yourself with him. And those are the three groups I see. And those people I will never, ever, ever be able to convince politically, because even if I get they agree with me about economics or the war, they're always in this world where the state and the government is them and they are the government. So they're always going to be freaking out about, we got to make sure we're voting for people that like I would hang out with or are nice and look nice. Like people literally send me photos of like, remember when Obama was president, and it's a photo of Obama with like Merkel and all the other leaders, and they're all holding hands, and I go,
Oh, isn't that lovely?
they're like slaughtering people and stealing money from countless countries. Yeah, but
Yeah,
they
they're a
look
bunch of
good when they
wolves
did it.
smiling over a dead
It's
dead carcass. Really, what's the
so I don't.
fucking fun
So
in
my
that?
point.
Unless you're
Yeah,
a
but my
wolf.
point is, yeah, but my point is, I don't, like you said, I don't see people that when I meet on Monday morning running into at the bar, I ask what they're doing. Like, oh, I went to the most recent, insert Democratic candidate rally. Like, I don't know
Oh
those
yeah,
people.
people
I don't
do
know where
that
they
shit
live.
around me all. Yeah, oh yeah, activists. Oh yeah, I mean, it's because I used to be one myself. Like people, hey, we're going to the rally at the state house. It's like, again, I live in New Hampshire. Everything is 5 minutes away. So like a 20-minute car ride does seem like an eternity. But you go and you hang out. And again too, it's here's what I was. I don't want to accuse just Democrats of this either
Oh,
though,
of
because
course
like
not. It's
Trump rallies are huge, huge, like mega huge, and I've been watching them
Hello
lately.
there.
Oh, how you doing, bud?
hey, bud, what's going on?
You got creative going
I
on
connect my cell phone.
from Argentina. How you doing, bud?
Yeah, fine here. You were talking and I want to talk with my prehistoric English.
Well, we've never had anybody from down there come on. Like, we have a guy from Venezuela as a curator, but he doesn't come on air because it's been tough down there for a lot of people. He doesn't want to have his name and his voice out there. So, I appreciate you talking. What's on your mind, bud?
No, I was hearing you talking about the United States have a lot of powers. No, they don't have a presidential power going on. Also, I think the deep state, don't like Trump. I mean, they don't want to USA do his business outside America. That's why he raised the interest rate of the Federal Reserve to
Mm-hmm.
attract more money, instead do business outside. And there is another power, as I read a lot of that now in the multipolarism with China, Russia, Brazil as one big power, economic, but not speculative power, more productive. That makes USA gives a little weaker. In that, United States have two or three United States running in parallel, right? That's what I've learned. that's why I don't hate Trump that much, except but his stupid speeches, right?
Well, that's what we were talking
so
about just
pure.
now. His speeches and Trump rallies are huge. They're gathering thousands and thousands, like tens of thousands of people, and they're chanting in ways that I understand. It freaks people out. Like it's build a wall. Like they're chanting like the energy in the room is like it's a whipped up crowd,
Yeah,
and there's people
as a
outside all
politic, he's
whipped
an
up.
excellent businessman. As a politician, he's an excellent businessman.
Oh, well, I hired a businessman on purpose. That's what we were saying about Obama. I wanted to compare the two Trump rally to Obama because Obama never had a job. And it really, really was bad for our country to have a bum in office because he didn't do anything, and everything he did do was something to benefit him or his party or his friends. It really had nothing to do. You know what I mean? He was great on the international stage. It's fun that he was. He looked awesome in all the photo ops, but he really didn't do anything. Like all the trade deals he signed sucked. All of all of the domestic regulations that he put in ruined our economy and kept us in a depression for seriously 8 years longer than it had to be. We could have got whipped out of that recession. It didn't have. Technically, it was a depression. We just changed the metrics so it didn't look like one. And they only did that because they thought they were going to be in power for like a generation and wouldn't get caught and like it wouldn't work for the other side. So that's why our economy looks the way it does on paper now. They changed everything to make it look good.
You know what I've seen?
Yeah, I think
I wanted a businessman.
Go ahead, Creative.
no, I think Obama. I don't see so much about Obama, but because I'm started interested about international politics a few months ago, I always look at my domestic politics, right? But he also Obama a little destroyed the apparatus of manufacturing of weapons. He decentralized that, and he's a big blow to the deep state who's running on the Pentagon and in Washington.
You saying Trump has changed that? I
No,
hadn't heard.
Obama starts, Clinton starts, as I read, but Obama intensifies and Trump follows the same path, more protectionist and less expansive, as USA used to be.
Well,
I don't think Trump's idea is to attack another countries. I think I don't have any voice on those decisions, as I can see, right?
Well, what I mean, there's a million reasons why they don't like Trump, but what I've gotten from people that are not from America that live here now that I talk to, and they go the thing that they recognize in Trump, and I've gotten this is a quote from an actual person that I talked to, like an old man, Afghani actually, and he said what he recognizes in Trump that Americans who like Trump don't even recognize in Trump is that their country, and I'm not one of these people. I don't look at the 365 million or whatever 400 million Americans as like we're all together. That's just to me asinine. It's just
Not even close. Yeah.
We have so many different cultures in this country. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But my point is, what people gravitate towards Trump, and it's not just. It could have been anybody that sounds or talks to them the way that he talks to them. We've had, and you kind of touched on this. You have a Clinton, you have an Obama, you have a Bush. Throw them in there. The United States government had just become a client state to all these other countries and governments. We'll fight their wars, we'll outsource our jobs to you, send your corporations in, we'll make them billions of dollars as long as you pay us, and we'll fuck our own people. That's what the politicians were doing. And the people living in these countries, the Europes, the developing countries that are now in India or China, now that they see Trump, I'm talking about the people, not the politicians. They see Trump. They might not like what he's doing, but they recognize what he's doing. What he is doing, and again, I don't agree with the state power that he's using to do it. He's literally, and I know it's on a stupid hat, he's making America great, not the government of America. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you people did fuck the people living in this country. Like, this is what I always bring up to my liberal friends. There was two candidates that were against. What was that big? Greg, you might remember. What was that big deal that Hillary and Obama were going to sign?
Oh, TPP, the Trans-Pacific
TPP.
Partnership.
There was
Trans-Pacific Partnership.
There was 2 candidates against it. There was Trump and Bernie Sanders. And I tell them Bernie Sanders blows their minds, and they're like, "Well, I don't understand." And we go, Bernie Sanders, in his American first but socialist view, is they did steal all your jobs. The corporations sold them out. Hillary Clinton pretty much made the deal for them to then get cheap slave labor so they can make billion-dollar profits. That was Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was for Brexit. He was against the EU controlling people's lives from thousands of miles away in this.
Well, he's an independent, and he does some weird shit. Vermont is a weird place.
My point
Vermont is right next door to me. I could walk to Vermont and be there by the morning, honestly. So it's.
My point is like this, like Kethler just said it. Well, he didn't say it exactly, but that was the one thing I saw on TV today when I was at the liquor store and they had CNN on mute and they had Trump rally and they said Trump calls himself nationalist at rally. So now they're going to roll that in, that nationalism is bad, and Hitler and Hitler and Hitler and Hitler and Hitler and Hitler, and that's all they're going to do. When my point is, I'm not a nationalist. I'm not. I don't think we should all be together, win, lose, or die, whatever. But, like, the government has, in America, if you've been paying attention.
Well, the government should be nationalist, for the love of God. We don't have to be, but they should probably be on our side first of all.
Yes, the government should. The government should be. Yeah, exactly. The government should be nationalist, if anything else. Yes, of course.
That's why we hire them. God damn it.
Yeah,
that's the other.
Like, hey,
that's the other party's message, though. We should be a global leader. It's like, how about we start working on our own shit and leave everybody alone for a bit?
And that's what my point was. Like, people from other countries are recognizing that, and then like they might not like it because it's not benefiting their country anymore. Because like people, like my European friends, well, why is America seems like they're more Americans all of a sudden they seem like they're pissed off at us. I'm like, because they've been fucked by you.
The trade deals have been terrible.
Like, we've been fucked by your countries. You understand? Like, it's really happened to us. And like you might think that we all live in the first world country that, America's still number one, but I'm sorry, you drive across lots of areas of this country, or you just take a 40-minute ride out of a major metropolis, and I'm sorry, that's not what I consider the American I grew up in, where most men don't have full-time jobs, or if they do, they have 5 of them, and they can't put money away to do shit with their lives.
Yeah, we're wage slaves. I never ever want to live paycheck to paycheck ever again. I am so tired of being broke. People here's the thing too, especially on these networks, it is crazy. And I don't want to give I have a person from Argentina on, so I'm not picking on anyone. This is something I honestly believe. It really is harsh to I got 5 kids, and people in America have problems too. And so you go on a show where you could pitch your crypto wallet, ask for donations for your work that you do online, and everybody else is doing the same thing. But it's really difficult to get in front of the guy from Cameroon, the guy who's from fucking Venezuela, who's been eating fucking rice for a month, and that he's been feeling lucky about that. It's hard for me as an American just because of our reputation. No one gives a shit what my actual situation is at all. They don't even think that I could possibly have a rough time. So, I've never been successful, and I've been as honest as possible. I wonder what the hell to make of that, because, I guess the world perception is that we all live fucking on gravy, No,
they do.
And I'm not starving to death, so... Yeah. I'm not starving to death, because I do live, you know what I mean? So there is some merit to what they're thinking, but at the same time, it's they don't even understand too. I feel it's amazing when I'm in a group of people. They're handing money to people who aren't going to do. They're starving, yes, but I could feed them literally. If people gave me that amount of money, I could, because I defer gratification in such a way that I am moving forward in life, regardless of not being helped by anybody. Actually, quite the opposite has been my experience. Not a whole lot of people want to give me a hand up, is what I'm saying. Most people want to kick me in the shin. So, point is, if they wouldn't, made a person like me and the donations that way, I could use that money and build a farm and send them food on a regular basis in payment for the rest of my fucking life. And I'm the kind of person, like I said, false altruism isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen. But, people like me will actually help you out way more often than any Bernie Sanders. Like, you call Bernie Sanders up and ask him to help you move, and I'm sure he'll show up right away and help. Bullshit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, guys like me will actually, I've given more people jobs than than anybody else I know. I've known quite a bit of employers in my life, but I've owned restaurants. I've run illegal businesses when I was a kid. Point is, I've even run very, very legitimate businesses. They're in line with the state. We're talking hundreds of people. Type of person that has forgotten the names of the people I've had under, I've signed paychecks to over the years. So, it's one of those things that blows my mind. It's hard to explain that to people who are socialists or communists, though. They just look at me like, you're not going to the very bottom with every kind of charity thing you have going. It's like, no, I'm going to give my money to the guy who's going to like save it, invest it, and use it. Like, again, too, like if we have EBT coming in the house because of like illness or job loss or something like that, I don't go buy tomatoes. I buy a fucking tomato plant. You know what I mean? You can buy the tomato plant. Buy the blueberry bush. Don't buy the blueberries. The rest of your life, you'll have blueberries and you won't need EBT next year. Stuff like that actually occurs to people like me. So it blows my mind the way that I suppose it's just, I don't know. But I'm a capitalist and I'm not going to apologize for that. No, I just am. No. And I'm good at it. So it makes sense to be that way.
Yeah, you can't. You raise you've raised how many people, not you personally, but how many people have been raised out of poverty in the last 30, 40 years? Because, I'm sorry, that's just a fact that you can't argue, is the amount of people that have been coming out of the poverty line because of capitalism.
How many communists have ever given you a job? How many communists have ever given you a job, directly hired you, and their name was on your paycheck? How many communists? Name them. Because
I'm not a communist, no. But I think that all those names like socialist, communist, realist, it's not real. I mean, someone wants to work, not even work. I mean, invest time in growth. That's not job or itself. It's like people doesn't work for money. People work for being better. I mean, Newton doesn't. Who's that guy who used the first telescope?
Galileo.
Galileo doesn't get a telescope to watch the stars to get some money or growth economically. Humans have a desire to growth. That's what I don't like about capitalism itself.
Well, I can stop you right there because you mentioned Galileo, and here's the thing: he worked for the church and got paid very well, and he did. All right, here's a different thing. This is my point entirely. If you set a person up that's actually a capitalist and good at it, they will, start a villa like Galileo with the small money that he got from the church, writing papers on basic physics like the way that chandeliers spin and the algorithm for other things.
Why you call it capitalist? You don't want money for the simple fact of having money. You want money to have a house, a better house, because you want your kids go to a good school and have a nice pants.
That is what
all capitalism is.
But wait, hold on. Let me just finish my point too. Same thing with Leonardo da Vinci and all these other people. We can go on and on and on. They all had money. They all had a villa. They had an estate. They had servants. They had people working their farms. Those examples of people are an oligarch. They are the ones that were born into money, and they still work for the church, and they got more money. And a lot of people are like that. George Washington, one of the founding fathers, he didn't even have his own kids, but he just kept getting farm after farm after farm. And if you wanted to debate the base drive of mankind, I get that. I watched a lot of Star Trek. It's sort of like a Gene Roddenberry fantasy where we work real hard to get rank and authority over one another. And that's a beautiful concept, but in reality, somebody got to clean the fucking cages at the zoo, and somebody's eating golden plates in a villa. building microscopes and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and telescopes. Now, I would love to be the guy who
Well,
could sit around and build telescopes, but if I can't operate on a capitalist level, I will be a servant my entire goddamn life. I will never own the
no,
villa.
of
I will
course,
never
no.
build the
That's
telescope. That's my point. And
undisputable.
it
But
really is
now,
about gaining resources first.
But that's all capitalism. I mean, capitalism could be as simple as I write a post, I give it to Greg, and he gives me eggs. That's capitalism. The problem is in America because I don't know why we butch. Well, first the word comes from Marx, so that's the whole fucking problem. But like capitalism equals, and now in 2018, capitalism equals you just have lots of dollar bills, and that's why
yeah,
you do the things you do is to get dollar bills, which is just not what capitalism is. Capitalism is any you use your time and your personal energy of life to do something to gain something back voluntarily. That's all it is. Now, when you start involving any kind of shady fucking shit on the side, it's not capitalism anymore. There's no term for it, sadly. We try all this fun stuff like corporatism and
Antitrust.
but there, yeah,
Ooh.
but you could have
White
your local
collar crime.
mobster. What do you call your local mobster? That's not capitalism, but it's not corporatism. What is it? But it's not capitalism. So that's my problem with that is if you have 10 people living like I argue with my socialist friends all the time. They go, "Oh, well, you're an anarchist. Well, you're a libertarian, so you have nothing. You would hate me." I'm like, if you lived 10 miles away and you had your socialist commune and you left me the fuck alone, have fun.
I don't
And
care.
I'll be over here, and then guess what? You're gonna come and trade with me eventually one time for something, and then we interacted in capitalism. Are you gonna hang yourself? No. But capitalism just happens every day, no matter even if you try to avoid it, it's part of life. It's just
No, of course.
it has a definition now, which is the problem, and then
Now,
you can put and it's got an ism. That's the
no,
problem.
it also has opposition, and this is where I get indignant, I suppose. I get a little upset at socialists and communists because they're taking away the tools that I have to engage in capitalism. They are an opposition. I don't oppose them. I want to be left alone by them. But they are always saying, well, we want a death tax now because we don't like the fact that, again, Galileo's dad worked his ass off to the bone and died young to give him, his son, a bigger land plot to plant grapes on. You know what I mean? Like, the only reason a guy like Leonardo can go and explore the world and all these things, like even Marco Polo had a rich family to go away from that he, to begin his trade. You see what I'm saying? Like, it happens because of this. So the people they want to say that is evil somehow, that is greedy, and I'm trying to say that it isn't. I'm trying to say it's the actual only thing to do because I'm not gonna go start a farm if my 5 kids can't enjoy it. If somebody's gonna come around with a gun and take half my crops and I never make any money and I just scrape by and I have to work my ass off and I've been literally eating nothing but fucking rice and ramen noodles for as long as I can remember because I'm trying to improve my situation. If somebody wants to come around and take that from me, say I didn't earn it or they have somehow it belongs to them in any way, I'm going to disagree quite a bit. And
what's funny about that, Greg, is what you just described is greed.
They're greedy, yes. I'm taking care of things, yeah. So my problem they can say that they can exist. They can't. But the problem is, socialists and communists cannot exist without people like me to come around to rob. And again, people like me fucking leave, and that's the problem. I'm leaving where I'm living now because I'm tired of wasting thousands of dollars on a tax system I don't get any benefits from. People like me, they will just go away. And that is the problem with this. It wraps back around to our initial immigration. The healthy males in these Central American countries are leaving. That means they're not building schools. They're not building roads. They're not building any infrastructure. Nobody's training to be a doctor. They're going to go and work at a Taco Bell. You know what I mean? And they probably won't even know what the hell they're saying in the fake Spanish they use at Taco Bell. It's not working. It's not good for anybody.
These days, today, 2028, 18, with all the technology, all the work, as you call it, to get money, it's almost useless today, right? As machines can do almost all the job, but we don't use the technology for that. I mean,
No, we use
if
it for
you
drones
put a
and bombs.
machine, if you put a machine to drive the buses or the trucks, or also make the farm, there's no need more than a 10% of the population working these days.
Mm-hmm.
I, I I'm more interested in why we are not using machines to do our jobs, and we have a universal rent. I mean, there's no need of the job as we know it today. Today, I mean, 10 years ago we can't do this. I'm talking about today, but
Mm-hmm.
today work as we know it, it's done. It's dead.
Well,
There's no
the
work.
reason you, yeah, well, the reason you're going to get pushback is the same reason that when the car came out, the automobile came out, you had pushback from, the horse and buggy industry, and when they invented the light bulb, all the candle makers freaked out because I'm not saying it's true. You're gonna lose their industry. Now, I'm not saying it's good that if and I'm not gonna I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna be for a universal rent because I'm just it's no I that you take away the incentive. But I understand it frees up people to do more creative things, but there's always going to be the dirty work.
You
Uh,
think?
oh,
I don't
there
think
had.
so.
Well, no, I do. I don't. I don't. I
Well, what
because I
we're
don't
gonna
think.
do? See, here's what I'll just say real quick. I put that in the chat somewhat in a bit. Yeah, I love to say robots. Robot is actually an Eastern European word for slave. I think it
Well, when
comes
you already have you already have
comes
high
from the Slavic
people.
really.
You already have the high tech.
But
You already have the people in the high tech industry already putting lines in the sand on that type of thing. You have
well,
a
all
side
right.
of it that's all about
We're never
robotics, and then you
gonna
have a
we're
side
not
to
gonna
go.
need robots. This is really what's gonna
No.
happen. And we talk about this a lot. Is we have the 13th Amendment. It supposedly ended slavery in America, and it's spread worldwide. It's like no, actually, probably more originated in Europe, but it's actually it takes away private right of slave ownership, but the government can still own as many slaves as it damn well pleases. So in a society without any
Well, that's the
incentive to work,
point.
well, in a
That's the
society without
point. The
any
job
incentives.
today it's maintained to
Well,
give to
hold on.
make
What I'm
us
trying to
work.
say, my point is, in a society without any incentives to work, you don't pay your workers. They all pretend to work when they're even there. It's all a bunch of bullshit. You just have to start making everybody into criminals. You can just start arresting everybody. Say they're all felons. You take away their rights. And you create a subclass through uh, state-run enslavement. And we don't need the robots. That would actually cost too much. You got the people laying around. You could either feed them or you could put them to work. So they're gonna put them to work.
No,
And more and more,
why
no,
is going
it's
to cost?
happening here more. If you don't, we have a prison population. They call it the prison planet in America. We have 25% of our population locked up. That's what's going on here, man. If you don't think it's going to go
Kanye
on
West
there,
does
I'm
that.
sorry. They're going to call it progress when it happens to you. And if you don't
Well,
like progress, then you're going to be a bad person.
well, that's what Kanye West.
I
I
love
mean,
it.
and I don't agree with Kanye West, but literally that's what his 13th Amendment comment was about. If I don't know if you caught that, Greg. I think you talked about that, right? You
Oh,
talked about Kanye.
last week. It's still a thing, though. That's what I mean. We
Yeah,
really
that
are
13th Amendment thing.
doing
That's
it.
what his point
It's
was. It
happening
needs to be
now.
expanded. It needs to be expanded to the prisons because that's where the new slaves live. You know. So yeah, no, I agree. I just personally, I don't know. You call me a luddite. I don't know. I just
I will.
the whole robots. It's fine. But
I'm just kidding.
The whole idea of just robots doing everything and then humans just kind of. I know enough humans to know that there's not enough creative humans out there that there would just be literally buildings full of people who did nothing all day, and that just terrifies me. I don't know. I don't know what to do with them. I don't know.
Why people is going to do nothing all the day?
Because people do not because people in a because people there's people that they spend their whole day figuring out how they can make money to not do anything. They cut corners all
Well,
day. That's their whole goal in life is to cut corners
ex-
to not work hard.
excellent
So
point.
if you hand them
Ex-
all the rewards without any of the effort, they're going to say thank you. And there's not everybody's redeemable. I'm not,
but
Wally, there you
what are
go.
they going to do?
Nothing.
What
Sit
are
on their
they going to do? No,
sit on their
nobody. Who is going to sit in her ass and doing nothing? I mean,
most
I do a lot of
Americans.
I do a lot of no. The
Yes.
human being like to
No,
grow, to learn
they don't.
things.
I
Yeah,
disagree. I understand what you're saying, but You're not going to have 365 million Americans all do their all of a sudden get off their asses and go, well, now that I have this
No.
time freed up, I'm
But
going
well,
to
we
I'm
have
going to pursue that dream that I had when I was 12. It's just not. No,
Here's a
it's
fun
not.
thing too, just in case anyone out there is wondering. America, or at least in my part, where probably you could say where No Chains is from too. If you look at the Pilgrims, they came over here fully intending on starting a commune, and they did. And within about 2 years, I think over 50% of them were dead. Nobody went and farmed the community farm land. Nobody raised the community animals right. Everybody was sick that day. Everybody had a problem. Everybody had something else they had
So
to do.
communism doesn't work.
So our country was
no.
formed in a
I'm not
commune.
talking
Wait, I'm
about.
just saying. And
No,
they
but no, but no,
all
but
died. Nobody
what
showed up.
the point Greg is making is if you provide what you're saying is if I'm not saying you, but let's play. I like this theoretical thing. Okay, so if everybody just gets rent and they don't have to do jobs as we see them today, what Greg is saying that already happened. We came here on boats and we said, hey everybody, we need to work together to do X, and everybody, not everybody,
They
but
thought
most
they were
people went, well,
Moses
somebody
going to the
else would do
promised
it. Somebody
land.
else would do it. Somebody else to do it. So my point, and this is my point is,
Within
if
wait,
you
real quick,
offer,
within 2 years, I'll write it in the chat. No, I'll write it in the chat. I'm sorry.
but but my point is like if you and it's
We don't
actually
have to agree.
no, it's of course not. There was a comedian who made a comment, and I'll just use it now. Okay, and here's a question for everybody in the chat and on the podcast. If the internet went down and us five were in the woods, the 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 forest, how long would it take us to send each other an email? 1,000 years?
Uh, no, not much. Not much.
No, us five
Uh,
people. You're saying if the internet went down and there's just us five, we have the capacity to figure out how to bring the internet back and send each other emails. That's my point.
yeah, of course. I'm pretty
Who?
fast, actually. Yeah,
You?
but
Who?
I
Greg?
mean,
You or me?
no, okay, you can
No,
learn. Learn.
I'm talking about infrastructure. Get the internet. You have to get all that going. So if you're just
Well,
if you
internet for 5 person is not
no, you're in
difficult.
the
I
woods.
mean,
You're in the woods. You don't have anything. You have sticks and rocks. Make me
well,
an email.
well, with basic science, you can do wires and you can do a
Well,
lot of things.
if you're handing money out to everybody, you're not going to have those people going in and working to learn those skills. People don't just not everybody learns these skills just to learn those skills. Some people do, but most
Well,
people do it because there's
Financial
doctors.
that's
incentive.
my point.
Doctors,
That's
yeah,
my
doctors
point.
are not going to become doctors if the government tells them you're making 30 grand the rest of your life. They're not
If,
doing it.
if they get their paycheck for showing up or not showing up or doing a good job or a bad job, they get promoted on a schedule or they get
They're
their
going to do the
number,
bad job.
they get their name picked out of a
Let,
hat. He's the boss today or whatever. Nobody's going to show up for work. Everybody's going to have something
let me
better to
see.
do.
Yeah.
Let me see if I understand what are you saying and clarify a little.
Sure.
You are saying that people, I mean, doctors are doctors for money.
Not all
Scientists
of
are
them.
scientists for money.
Yes.
Just about
See,
all
this
of them,
is
though.
yes.
Bartenders are.
Okay, my father's a doctor.
You are saying that?
My father's a doctor. He has 2 kids, he has a wife, and he has a car, and he has a house. If
Yeah.
he was not able to make more money every year by becoming a better doctor, he would not be able to afford to have a wife and 2 kids. He's not just if you
But
just came to if you just came to him and said you're going to make 30 grand a year if you continue to be a doctor. He's not going to go, I'll sacrifice my future as a husband and a father because I have a moral obligation to. See, that's the thing. That's a
well,
romanticized
but
view of
no, that's
people getting
nice what you
doctor and
say.
science. You have scientists
That's
out there
nice what are you saying
who
actually.
will lie to people to make more money every year to keep their. So I'm just saying it's a human element. It has nothing to do with what
No, well, okay, money
is.
is it's an element of humanity because it's all we had like
Yeah. So
500
if you
years,
hand it, if you
5,000
hand it
years ago, we have money and it's
But if you
okay.
hand it to people,
But
but the people you're saying to hand the money to aren't doctors and scientists. These are the people that are doing the factory jobs and driving trucks. And we need to now supplement them because they're not going to have their jobs. Those people, not all of them are going to be able to become doctors. They're going to have to do something. And they're not.
most of the jobs as services or trucks can be automatized like
I agree
this.
with
I
you, but
mean,
what you're saying? What we do with those people is we give them money. What do they do with their lives? Like that's
I mean,
my
I
concern.
I guess money is going to be unnecessary. What we going as a society if we
Well,
can grow as as an whole, right? But I don't
yeah. Well, we're not gonna run. We're
I
not gonna
don't
grow.
think
We're
people
not gonna
the
grow as a
motor.
whole though, because
I
we're
don't think
individual.
the gene of humanity it's the money. I don't want to believe that. Maybe it's
No, no,
true.
no. Well, money's just
No,
a
I don't
that's
dollar
want.
bill. Money's just a dollar bill. But the
that's fine. But I mean, at this point, though, then we're just talking about what we want to believe is what we want to believe. I think
yeah.
that's fine, and it's fine to have. See, I personally, if we're going on the opinion route, which is okay with me, but I just stay away from any ideology that says we're going to improve mankind. Somehow, with our new set of rules and our
Well, I don't
centralized
understand
government,
because that's my
we're
point.
going to force
I'm agree with that.
we're gonna force
We are
everybody to
trash.
be able to do this. We're
Well,
gonna
I
give
don't.
them a
Yeah, I
paycheck if
agree
they
with you.
show up for
I don't
work,
like
but
you
if they
saying
don't show up for work, we're gonna punish them. I don't want to live in a society like that because I don't believe it works. Because everyone I've seen try that collapses in certain ways. They expand and they have to start using warfare to expand. And then as soon as they run into a wall in Afghanistan and they have to start dumping all the money into trying to win an unwinnable war, their entire society will collapse. We've done it in Vietnam. We've done some dumb shit. We haven't gone as far as the USSR, thankfully. But I would just say that I don't think any ideology that will improve that is based upon all of us changing or all of us getting along or all of us doing one thing at a time or moving in unison and not looking out for our individual needs, our individual tastes, our individual wants. It's going to fail. It's going to have to rely on force. It sounds
No,
great. It
of
always
course.
sounds nice. It looks bad on paper, and then we keep going with it because it sounds nice when you talk about it. But what I want to
Yeah.
believe is not what is. One other thing, though, I think we should. We've gone about an hour and a half. I try not to make these more than 2 hours, but I did want to switch up. I would love to get off of this because I have sort of. It might not be less of a left or right thing, but Manchester, New Hampshire is where I live right now. It's the bigger city in the state. It's about a half an hour north of Boston, depending on how the traffic goes. Um, anyway, we're running into serious problems because I've been talking about our voter ID laws, and I'm not a proponent. And this is probably a good segue because what I believe is that we shouldn't have any barriers for people to vote. I don't want any government intrusion or anything that's going to keep somebody from being able to vote. That's what I would love to have happen. My reality, my actual, the fact that I have to live on this planet, I've seen with my own eyes that it doesn't work like that. People just do whatever the hell they want. And there is fraud and there is crime. And Project Veritas is a group in America that does undercover journalism. And they fucking came into a polling station that I was in charge of. I ran and I got elected as the Ward 4 moderator. I think it was in 2014 or something like that. Maybe a little earlier, 2012. Point being is I know exactly how these polling stations work, and we do have a fraud problem, in my opinion. I saw a guy from England come in, ask for a dead man's ballot, get it, no questions asked, and throw it in the trash and run out the door like he had just killed somebody. It was a brutal scene. Luckily, I never was exposed on the camera, but they have the footage, and it was bullshit. So ever since that happened, I've been pretty involved in what's going on. And like I said, the reality of it is we do need these laws because people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. In my ideological world, everybody does what they're supposed to do. They follow the rules and they all get along. But that's not how it works. Never will. So it's been a fight to get people to at least prove they live in the state. I don't know if it works people live in larger states than New England, but around here, like I said, I could walk to Maine. I could walk to Massachusetts. If I wanted to haul some ass, I could get to Connecticut or Rhode Island in a day or two. Like just going right down the straight line of the highway. You could get there. This place is tiny. So people from New York can get here in 4.5, 5 hours. And they do come here. They vote in two places. I'm not saying for what party, but it does seem like there's more fraud on one side than the other. Just saying. There's more voters on one side or the other. To be fair, though, there's more people voting for a certain party. So if everyone's doing it equally, it still means that one party is fraudulently voting more than the other, if you can follow my math. Point is, though, we passed the goddamn law to fix it. We passed it, you know? Republican governor signed it into law. It was supposed to go into effect in 2019, which is an off year anyway. It was supposed to have all the legislative crap dealt with for the 2020 election. It was all supposed to be straight, and we had it all done. But somebody in my neighborhood, literally a judge that lives down the street from me, screwed it all up. She said that that it would be an undue burden on the people that were voting around here because they would be forced to provide proof that they lived around here when they would register on the spot to vote. And I want to just go over real quick. Like I'm saying, I was actually sworn in by the mayor. The governor was all there. I know all these people. I worked at City Hall. I was down in the basement delivering the sealed ballots. I counted them all by hand. I know the machine inside and out. I delivered the fucking voting machine. I did all of it. So there's nobody who doesn't know more about this neighborhood's voting than the guy who ran it, you know? I'm just saying, the registrar is a separate thing altogether, and they have their own little part in the room, and the line itself doesn't exist in the room. There's little mini lines. So if anything, it would have maybe made somebody spend 5 minutes registering longer than they would have had to after they waited hours to vote. So maybe the 5 minutes on top of 3 hours is what this judge is talking about. But it sounds like another bullshit politics move. It makes me want to leave the city. I can't stand the people around here anymore. And it's not just a problem in my neighborhood. This affects the state. And the state of New Hampshire gets first pick in all the primaries, you know? That means that we start crafting the goddamn candidate's message. So when George W. Bush wants to start out his campaign message, he has to come to the oligarch that runs the Sununu family that runs the state around here, and they start crafting the Republican message in the state. Now, we're a state that's extremely exposed to fraud. Do you see where I'm going with this? This is a problem for everybody because now you're in Argentina, right? And I just want to say, like, I would love to have more control over who's bombing who. But when the base root of the tree is affected by poison, and I've watched it with my own eyes, I can verify it, and we're not doing anything about it because we have crooked judges. I don't know, man. I start raising my hands up and start wanting to fucking yell, but at the same time, I just put a for sale sign in front of my house, legitly, and I want to be Pompous Pilate and just walk away from this mess. I could, because we don't get a big say in the national primaries, but we.
I'm just going to say one thing that maybe it's stupid and basic, but the people who want us to live in this way, you know, running and chasing the money, as I'm do myself, I work, I do a lot of things to get my money. The guys who rule the world want this system, so I don't want this system. And also, I like, in quotes, Trump because the system doesn't like Trump. I used to read the journals to do the opposite. You know what I mean? When they demonize something, I think that what they're demonizing, it's good to me. You know what I mean? Or I'm using an awful English, I know.
No, I'm following you.
We got you. No, we got you. No, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's what he's doing. I mean, but to what Greg said, I mean, Greg, I'm in New Jersey. Please, voter fraud. I mean,
exactly. Same fucking people vote in New Jersey on their way back home to New York.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the other spectrum. I think I'm one of these weird. I mean, I've been called things for this, but like, as somebody who doesn't even think there should be. I mean, I'm like you. I live in the real world, but theoretically. I don't think. I mean, I disagree. I don't think everybody should. I don't think it should be easy access to vote. I think if 80% of your income a year comes from somebody else's paycheck, you shouldn't be able to vote.
Oh, I could agree with you there on a lot of reasons. How are you going to vote? We could get in trouble saying people don't have the right to democracy in a place that isn't even a democracy, though. We're not even a democracy. But if we piss off Democrats, they'll fucking lynch us.
Related what Chen said. How do you expect a person to work when he born without light or water or food, or he grows surrounded by marginality and criminals How do you expect
all right, again,
agents
dude,
of Einstein's born from places who
you're
are
taking away that
literally
person's agency, man. You're
trash
making it
all this
everybody
way
else's
that
fault.
because they,
You literally just spoke for a person that I never met, and you said that he can't work because of those things. When I've literally met people who've grown up in places like that, and they work all the time.
I'm not saying
Now,
I
saying
spent
that
my
things
childhood in
happen.
a crack house, dude. I don't know what to tell you
yeah.
there.
Now, I mean, now I can give you an answer. I can give you an answer on why it's hard, and I can't speak for another country, so I'm not going to. But in
No,
places
it's
like in
okay.
New Jersey, like Camden, which is a very horrible city in New Jersey, or Newark, which is actually getting a little bit better, or Baltimore in Maryland, a lot of the reasons some people are born, and they're born into these situations, and I don't discount why they're born there, or what they've grown up in. But if let's say they want to go start a business in their town, and me and Greg have talked about this on the podcast before, um, they want to go start a business, they have to go to the government, give them hundreds of dollars to start to work. So yes, how can that person who has no money, no skills, no food, no water start working if the barrier to start working, and this is an American
He
thing,
needs a license to cut hair.
hundreds of dollars when the and the answer is they can't. But the option that American politicians give you and a lot of socialist countries give you is don't work. We'll give you money. And then you don't have to work. You don't have to become responsible because we'll do it for you. Now, I'm not saying that that person makes that decision out of laziness. I'm saying those are the two options they're given. Either you have no choice because you have to have money to get in the game, or we'll just pay you to
Yeah.
not play the game. Now, if you live in a place where you just
Or you
have
have
no
to beg them
barrier
for
entry,
money somehow.
yes,
And that means
gotta
you have to
beg
kiss
them,
the
you gotta
ass of the
beg them for the
politician and
opportunity.
let them
So
rule over you.
I don't disagree with you there. Now, if
No,
you live,
but it's not just a matter of electricity or water. It's a cultural thing.
Oh, I
You
hear
know,
you, man. Dig a fucking well.
How
For the love of God. You know what I mean? I don't know what else to say. Get out of the city. Get out of the city. Walk out of the city with the clothes on your back and fucking go and find a lake.
I work. No,
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you. I'm saying whoever the fuck. See, here's what we have a term around here. We have a term called bigotry, which means that you take the agency out of the person and you treat them like the entire group or whatever, right?
prejudice,
You know? Or
prejudgment.
There's a thing, though, what we call soft bigotry, which is something that a lot of people who have a leftist ideology seem to thrive on, which is to take away the agency of everyone around them. Say they can't do it because of this reason. Like, around here, I'm sticking on the voter law issue. Around here, the biggest complaint was, well, minorities can't get IDs, so you can't have a voter ID law because you're a bigot. You know, it's like, no, you guys who say things like that are the actual bigots because they're trying to say that a person who is just as intelligent and capable as me can't get a fucking ID. Now, maybe I don't have an ID because I'm a criminal or something like that. Maybe because my skin color doesn't matter at all or my background doesn't matter at all. Maybe I just make stupid decisions and maybe I don't have the right to vote because I'm an asshole. How's that? Maybe, but again, I don't see, again, but what I'm saying is you can't take a person and take away their humanity and say it's everybody else's fault. You're not helping them by doing that.
No,
and if you say that my problems are if you say that my problems are the I could complain all day long about my taxes being too high and it's keeping me from following my dreams. But I'm not. What I'm saying is these taxes are too high and I'm leaving. I'm moving away. I'm taking, if I have to just take like one chair that I can carry with me, I'm fucking going.
I know
you know what I'm saying? So you can't take away someone's agency. You can't say that they had a bad. You can't, because what we call it around here is soft bigotry. It's just as discriminatory against a person, and it doesn't matter what the reason, whether it's race or culture or class system. I don't care. Like the guys, like I said, like they're complaining they don't have clean water in Honduras, but they probably can't own land because of the socialist government has a stranglehold on it, and they handed it all to their fucking friends. That's what's really going on. And so, like, again, that system might work in a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world, and it's getting messed up, and these people are starving. They need to leave.
Were you speaking about my comment about voting and 80% welfare and stuff? Because I was pointing. Now, what I'm saying there is
I could go further with it, but I'd get in trouble. I could get further with restricting voting. I really could.
Who will not work. I literally have friends who would say they're on unemployment, and they get a job opportunity and they don't take the job opportunity because they can get more money in a paycheck from the government, which if the government doesn't have any money, they have to steal it from another person. I don't think that person should be able to vote to steal other people's money. Sorry, I don't agree with that. And
The-
I
there in the- there in
now
United States, you get paid without work more money than a job gives you.
yes.
It's a question. I here it's not like that.
No, and that's what I'm trying to. I'm not trying to argue it. That's what I mean. Like, yeah, no, America.
It's
That's the
actually
thing.
only wait.
And
See,
I
here's
think
the
me and
thing. You
Greg.
got to specify. Wait, no change. See, this is the thing. This is why we have fucking caravans. You got to be specific though. Certain
Better
people,
here. People
a
think it's
woman
better
with
here than
four.
it is.
Wait. A woman with 4 bastard kids
Yes.
can make more than working. I cannot make more on welfare than working. I get nothing. So me and my friends who look like me get nothing. It's very specific who gets what.
But why
So
is
please
all
don't
those?
tell.
Why?
No.
If you
Because
are
we
telling
have.
me this, I believe you. Of course, I believe you
It's
what you was
Yeah.
guys saying. But where is so many homeless on your country if you can live from the state?
because not everybody
Well,
can. That's what I'm
not
trying to tell
everybody
you.
can. Yeah.
You have to have an address first of all to get a check.
You have to have an address, and they use it. It's a political move. So if you're a single, and this is not, but Greg knows, if you're a single mother and you have 3 kids, you get more money
Yeah.
for each kid.
You get a
If you have
house.
man,
You get a.
if you have
You get a
man,
food
if you
card,
get
you get a house, and you get you get even
have a-
sometimes you get an actual check with actual money if you are a specific person with a specific
Yes, and
situation.
and I'm just trying to use an example. If you bring a man into your, or a woman or whatever, a breadwinner of some kind, or you start being a gangster, and not real gangster, but I mean in the Jersey term of doing well, this state takes your money away. So
Well, if you're on welfare and you get caught cutting hair, if you get caught cutting hair without if you're on welfare in a black market hairdressing ring that you've been running, you can
So
get
exactly
seriously
like you
screwed.
said
It's
in the
weird.
beginning, like you said in the beginning, creative. Like, if you were born in a place where you have no agency and all that stuff, in a country that's not American, I'm not speaking broad. I'm speaking broadly, but you might have a country that maybe the government doesn't have the reach that it has in America, and in your small village or town or city, you can just start a dog walking service, or you can just start cutting hair and make a couple bucks, and then move to America. In America, you need a license. Not every place, but where me and Greg live, and that's the
I
vibe you're
hate
gonna
it.
get from us is you need a license to cut hair. Like, you need a license to walk dogs. Like,
I need a license to
But,
play music on
yeah,
Discord.
it's wild.
Here you need to pay taxes if you travel with dogs, but you can't avoid it and don't.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I'm just
no,
saying.
no,
Well,
you
that's because they're not as good
Specifically-
at they're not as good as pointing guns at you yet. But again,
Yeah,
come
you'll
to
get
the
there.
land of guns. They got plenty of ways to point guns at you around here. It's really frustrating, and that's the thing that I don't know. That's what I was saying. Like I think we should wrap it up too. But I was saying about New Hampshire voter ID laws. This is something that's been bothering me since I saw it with my own eyes. It's just like I do want anybody who's listening worldwide to know that, like, I don't know if everyone's heard of the poison fruit doctrine, but it basically means if you want to eat the fruit off a tree, you got to make sure that the roots are healthy. Then you're not going to get sick from that apple or whatever you pick, So in our government, we absolutely have poison roots. Like when our candidates are crafting their message, when they're getting their by the time it gets halfway into the primary season, the Republican field went down from 17 to 3 or something like that. You see what I'm saying? So people who get voted out in the early elections, the ones that start around here, are the ones that have been targeted by both parties, I'm sure, but specifically I could pick on one in particular that seemed to be more interested in doing this than others. They want the illegal votes regardless of where they came from. Now, I'm not talking illegal aliens or undocumented people. I'm talking they don't care where the votes come from. And they love
you're
putting
talking about clientelism. I don't know what's the word in English. To pay money for both them.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, exactly. We
basically.
call it usury.
Well-
Yeah, we call it bribery. Yeah, exactly. And they're doing it in a legal way. It's really a shame, but
I I can take an example what you use as the mother with the four bastards. Uh, if the state doesn't help that mother to raise that kids, which kind of kids in the future are going to be adults? Are you going to have, well, if his mother have to get 5 jobs and can't raise them properly to be functional to the society?
Hey, again,
I
I
mean,
can
I
stop
guess
you
I
right
guess
there. I can
that's
stop you right there.
Yeah,
This is,
but
you know, you can call me cold-hearted. I'm never going to pretend like I'm an altruistic guy with a bleeding heart, because I'm not. What I can tell you is we're going to get a generation of people who know better. We're going to get a generation of people that go, man, my mom made so many bad decisions having all of us without any way to take care of us. When I grow up, I'm going to make sure I have my shit together, or they're going to fucking die. I'm sorry, they're going to starve.
Or
no,
Greg,
that's
or
And
or
I,
Greg,
no, no,
or
yeah, you want me
Greg,
to be, exactly. If you want me to be a nice guy, I'm fucking not. You know what? If
but
they really
or
don't
they're
learn,
or they're
then I
gonna
have no time for them. I'm sorry. It
or
pisses me
I'm
off
not
because it's
forcing you.
seriously, I have 5 kids and it sucks trying to feed them. I don't want to hear their problems. Nobody cares about my problems. Maybe that's just it. Maybe if, like, seriously, if sympathy is something that I think exists, it's for everybody else. I'll tell you that. So no,
No,
I
I
don't give a
guess
shit,
I
dude.
guess
Stop having kids and not fucking knowing what you're gonna do. You know what I mean? I'm having
well,
kids and struggling to feed them. I'm gonna go buy a
well,
farm. You know what I mean? You take
but
care
then
of your shit. Don't make
well, that's
excuses.
culture. That's also culture. If his mother doesn't teach them values, I know
Well, that's a good
they're
point. It
going
is
to.
culture, and that's what I was going to step in. The single mother that I'm talking about, there is, like Greg said, she's not doing what you're saying. I completely agree with you, creative. If this woman has 4 kids, and is instilling in them work ethic
I'm
and all
sorry,
that stuff,
I'm outside. There's a
she
pastor
wouldn't.
with a
Well, she also
motorcycle.
wouldn't be. She wouldn't also be taking money from the state to get by. But I mean, also in America, most of the if I'm bringing up an example in America of a woman with 4 kids, it's the odds are is the male in that relationship is in prison for some kind of bullshit reason. So there's that too. So the state takes the father out of the picture, replaces the father with itself, the government, and those kids grow up knowing that they need to get that check from the government, or they learn the opposite, or like an Adam Carolla, Greg knows who that is, or a guy like that, they grow up like Greg said, and they go, "My mom made a lot of fucked up mistakes, and I'm not going to do that to my kids." So
I'm learning from
Well,
all my. Again,
or those
see,
kids
here's the
can
thing
grab a
too.
gun
I've
and
seen it. I've seen.
goes to
I've
Greg.
heard from all these people, especially the single mom stuff. That has to stop. Every time I take my kids to a movie, every man is absolutely shamefully stupid. Every male decision they make backfires. Every time they show any masculinity, it's ridiculed or shown to be a bad thing. And every single mom is put on a pedestal every time. It drives me nuts. It's a shame. And we have to stop. We have to stop feeling bad for these people. They need to stop thinking it's cool. People need to stop thinking it's okay. Don't do it anymore. Don't treat your kids like that. This used to be something relegated to prostitutes, man. This isn't cool. My mom was fucking an animal because she believed in all this crap. She ripped everything apart that I've ever fucking seen. And like now she's alone and miserable. So yes, I mean, yeah, I'm sorry if you have 7 kids with 7 people and now you have to work 7 jobs. You never raise them, you never talk to them, you don't teach them morals, you don't take them to church, you're exhausted, you can't hang out with them. Well, I'm sorry. Why should they love you? You haven't bonded with them. You haven't done anything. You haven't mothered them in any way. What's the point? The only reason you're going to care about them is if a society that says you're an asshole if you don't. They're going to guilt you into it and force you into it.
Yeah, and Creative makes the point about society, and then what's his name? Keither made it in the chat. Single mother, and this is a good quote. Single mothers in the U.S. do not have the same values as the developing world. Now that's a general statement, but I get that. If I get that question from somebody in the developing world where they have multiple kids and they're working their asses off to make sure all 4 of those kids go to college and they have the right idea, and they take a small check from the government, it's because it's a supplement. But an American single mother of 4 that me and Greg are talking about, she's not working.
Never even intended on marrying the people she had.
Well,
you know,
when she
again,
goes, well,
I feel bad
she
for
goes
one
to the
single
grocery
mom,
and she
one
pays
single
taxes.
mother. I call them
She goes to
widows.
the grocery and she pays
I have a
taxes.
word. I have a word for single moms that I feel bad for. Widows.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you. The only ones and
I
again,
guess
that's actually where I would put my charity. If I actually found somebody who had a horrible accident and they needed my help, well, they're going to get my help. But no, you're not going to rob me behind my back or tell me I'm a bad person for not just letting the guy with the gun take my shit. I don't even know if that single mom's going to get my stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy with the gun's obviously going to get his cut. You know, I would
mean,
deliver it to the widow myself. I'd get a basket of food and bring it there myself. I'm that type of person.
No,
But no,
dude.
I don't want to be told
Dude.
anything about it. And you
Let-
know what? I don't
let me
feel
be
bad.
clear.
They need to stop.
Let me be clear. I'm not saying you're a bad person. You thought what you thought because that's what you know. You can thought different because your information makes you think that. We have a different points of view. I mean, you want to give a healthy society. You need to protect the weakest.
Yeah, but the
Because
government doesn't need
if
to
you
do
don't
that.
that,
But the point is the government doesn't.
I would
need to
do it personally. I don't need anybody
Yes,
to
society
steal from me
needs
to do
The
it.
government
Nobody
is
needs to
not-
force me to
The government's
do
doing
it.
it for votes. The government's doing
No,
it for
no.
votes.
They're doing a
that's-
really
that's
bad
a
job of
different
it
story.
too. The government does
Yeah,
a bad
but
job
no,
at everything but killing people. I've never seen them do anything
United
well
Nations-
except hurt people and make us wait in line.
No,
They make
I
us
don't
wait in
think
line
that's
very
the
well.
English.
They rob us very well at the end of the line. They do that great. Because if we don't do it, they're really good at killing us. That's what I
well,
see.
you can't.
They're not good at
Creative,
any
in
of this
America-
stuff.
In America, you can't see creative. In America, you have Democrats, right? You have Democrats, and this is just an example. Republicans do this on different issues. So, but I'm going to use this example. Democrats will run around saying, right, that we need to help the single mothers of America and minorities, like you said, the lowest of our society. That's what they'll say. At the same time, they will vote to lock up most of the men in those societies, lock them
Yeah.
up in prison, and then go, well, now we have to help these people. So you really don't care. And that's what I mean by the government can't do it. Because if a politician is selling you some line that we're here to help you,
Well,
it's because they
government is not.
because they fucked up that area first, and now they're coming in to get their cut. So I agree with you.
Well,
If it's a society,
but this,
if we're having a societal discussion, I completely agree. But when you bring in the government, I mean, it gets all shady because they fuck it up first, and then they come in to clean up their mess, and that's where it gets a little
I'm
shady.
agree with that.
Yeah. So,
See, here's the
But
thing I
the
realized too.
role
One
of
of the
the
things,
state-
one of the things about the people that I realized that were far leftist, socialists, and communists, and all these other people, they were always hurting a person like me constantly. They were always demanding my time and attention, and if I didn't give it to them the way they wanted it, they would hurt me. Always. And they used the government to do it, and they never even thought for a second about being nice to people to get what they want. You know what I mean? Doesn't even occur to them that they could actually form bonds with people and that they would, and in a human nature, provide for them because of love. No, it's all force. It's all guilt. It's all force. And it's always, well, how can you say, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. They're not good at redistributing wealth because they take too much in the process every time. If you want to help people, help them. You know, don't be one of those people that marches for this migrant caravan and then doesn't put a single one up in your own damn house. You know, you want to help. You know, I'm the type of person, if you get to know me, I'll help you out. No problem. I can put money in your pocket, like I said.
I'll end my comment here on this. And I think
This was supposed to be about voter
Greg,
ID in New Hampshire, by the way. At the
no,
end.
but this is good because Creative's the first person we've talked
No, it's
to
great,
really
actually.
from here.
We kind of do have the
and I
one
really
line.
think I think there is a societal difference, which I think people that see America from outside America don't realize, because because our politicians and our media play it off that it's still 1995, you know, Greg, and everything's great, and Backstreet Boys are out, and we're all making money. But there's societal change here in this country where people are selfish, and not in the good way. Like Greg is saying, like, people are we have this system here which we try to sell to everybody, that we have this awesome democracy, which, okay, like for example, we wanted to bring democracy to Iraq. Okay, so you have 51%.
I don't think your democracy it's awesome.
No, I'm just
I
saying in
mean,
general. I'm saying what is it? How it's affected our the society here. It's made people selfish in that they don't, like Greg said. We have, to me, in my opinion, we have more hypocrites in America than every other country. I just feel like everybody's.
no,
Oh, I mean, like
Gotta get
Greg
to
said,
know us better.
you you
no,
have
we have a lot of hypocrites here.
no, but I mean, like, we have Greg said we have celebrities who want to run around and scream and yell about migrants, bringing migrant workers in, but they won't put. They have to live in gated communities. You have people who are shelled or shielded from paying taxes who want to raise your taxes. You have people who march for women's rights, but they don't mind if that means that all the men get fucked. Like, I'm not saying, or it
Well,
works the
but
other way
women
around.
get fucked. But well,
Well,
wait.
if women get fucked by men, yeah, it's the same thing.
Women's get fucked
By men,
through the
it's the same thing.
years, a long of years get
Well,
fucked.
they also didn't have to fight any of the wars, so there was that. But I'll leave
No,
it for
well,
later.
I could get
wars
it.
that
So,
men
how about
stopped.
real quick? Just a real quick, and I'm not saying this is an opinion thing, but when the women in
Well, you get a bad
America were
example.
offered the right to vote, just saying, just throwing this
No,
out there. If you
it's
want to
all
look at,
it's
wait,
all
no, I just want to
related.
look at the roots of the problem. We were talking about welfare and everything out. Here's one of the roots. You know, like I said, if the roots are poison, don't eat from the tree. All right. So when women were offered the right to vote, it was told to them the only reason that men are getting a right to vote without owning property around here is that they're now subject to be conscripted into the army. And if you want to be conscripted into the army, and I'm not saying to fight, not to fight necessarily, but you have to serve for whatever the men have to serve. You
Why?
can have
No, what?
because
No, I'm
because
hippie.
of
I
equality.
don't want to go.
I'm not
That's
saying you
American
want
culture.
this. This is not an opinion thing. I just a little history
It's
for
just
fun,
facts.
just
Yeah.
facts for fun. So they were offered this deal multiple times. It was refused multiple times. Certain states out west in the middle of the country were having problem raising their population, so they were incentivizing more women to go out west to settle down and raise homesteads, regardless of whether or not they had a man with them or whatever. They had 3 kids with 3 different guys, but they could move out west and start their own homestead with the help, and they would have full voting rights, and everything was happy. That was a state issue around here, and it worked out well. Nobody really had a problem with that. But when it came to the federal stuff, it's like, okay, well, you want the rules to apply to you equally, so equal rules, equal treatment. Everyone said no, and they got their way anyway. You know, now the only people that can actually get welfare are the single women with 3 kids. Yes, but they can't go do it themselves. Not anymore.
Exactly.
They can't go. Yes. They can't go out west. They can't homestead. All that's done. They're trapped where they are in these cities. They can't improve their own lives because of rules put together by people on the left mostly. People who want to, in the name of protecting the forest, they can't go and build a homestead. They got to.
And the way the society works in America.
Fun facts.
but
You make of it what you will. Just the reality of what's going on in America.
Yeah, there's a reality that There that is a reality.
You know the simple fact: if you destroy forests, you are going to get full of water your house.
Yeah.
Because
Just roots. Yeah, there's not gonna be any roots to suck up all the water.
no, there's a lot of we can reduct a problem as our experience. You know.
Well,
I
you know,
mean,
at the
of
same
course,
time, you can't feel.
you're
I can't feel
suffering for a
bad.
lot
Wait,
of
if you're gonna
things.
put artificial barriers on people improving their lives, man, then you know, I don't know. I can't pay for the projects that you want. You can't let them do it themselves because of rules. I mean, you kind of trapped yourself in that one, though. You know, that's a problem.
Freedom's the only way
It's
that
called.
works.
It's called. Wait a minute. Wait. It's called cognitive dissonance. It's trying to believe in 2 things that are completely separate at the same time. You can't do that, man. It's a problem. I'm not saying it's bad. It's bad for you if you want to be healthy. You got to make sure you're not doing stuff like that. You can't believe like, well, we can't let them improve their lives, but you got to feel bad for people who can't improve their lives. You can't be that guy on both ends of the spectrum. You can't truncate one belief and make it work only in this conversation if it completely is annihilated by the next conversation. It's called cognitive dissonance, and it's not a healthy habit, man. You got to break it.
Yeah, like what Greg was saying, and I think what my frustration, and this is literally other than foreign policy. This is my number one thing with politics. This is why I don't get as much as ironically I am involved. Like I will never pick a side, because you have people who will lecture me about the poor and all this crap, But at the same time, like Greg said, they will support laws that fuck the poor. And when you point it out to them, they just roll your eyes and go, "No, I'm protecting them." And I just go, "Okay, I can't." Again, cognitive dissonance. I can't have a conversation with you. You're not getting that the poor. Again, I always bring up Baltimore because I know a lot about it just from friends who were involved down
Well,
there.
now I
But
understand. Now I understand why you guys talk much more like me than me, because they don't let you speak.
Oh, me and him are trapped in this, like exactly that. But like you know,
yeah,
like I
we
said,
live-
I'm finding the cracks to get out. He
Yeah, but
again too.
I grew up.
No
But
Chains is gonna
my
do a
family,
lot better than me. This guy's doing good.
yeah,
He's a
but me
great
and Greg,
guy.
I think
I
and
appreciate what he's doing where he's
I
at.
don't know all of Greg's background, but I'm just saying, like personal background. Like I didn't, my family didn't come from anything. Like they're immigrants, and they work their asses off to be where they are. So when people like in America, the Democrats, the liberals, the people who sell themselves to the rest of the world as the good guys, I'm sorry, that's what they do. They run around saying they're here for the poor. But when the poor get here, they put so many barriers in the way of those poor people getting away from being, what's the word, Greg? Neat just like not
Neat.
leeches, that's a bad word, but like they need the government. Like if a
Oh
guy
yeah,
if these 14,000 people cross the
they're
border
dependent.
and they say
No,
yes.
I understand. I understand
Yeah.
you, but how do you think you're going to solve a generational
I'm not gonna solve
problem?
it,
Oh, well,
dude.
I'm not gonna
Dude,
solve a
I'm not
generational
gonna
problem.
solve
I'm
it.
gonna try to
I'm
solve a
not.
problem.
I'm not. I'm gonna solve the
No,
problems in my
well,
family
That's my
first.
point.
And
I
wait.
guess
Anybody,
If
anybody,
everyone thought like me and they all solved their own damn problems and they didn't go around trying to solve everybody else's, we wouldn't have these fucking
that's
problems.
the point. Yeah, Greg
My
is my
kids
point.
won't have the same life I had because I know better and I'm not gonna be stupid about it. I don't
Oh,
believe in
well,
all this
Well,
crap.
probably because your culture is way better than what
My
the
culture
other
has nothing to
here.
do with it. My culture is beating me down on a regular basis to stop me from succeeding, bro. They
Yeah.
fucking
No,
hate
well,
people like me
But
around
Greg,
here.
and someone teach you that.
no, he meant
No,
Someone
they didn't
Greg.
teach
or
me. They're trying to
Or-
teach me
That's
something that isn't true. They're trying to teach me the opposite, but it just so
you
happens
learn
that I can learn
or
my
you
own
he
learn.
learned
shit.
that
I
he
can.
learned. Yeah, Greg learned that from the culture around him not being what he needs. But I like the point that I think you're you're trying to make is the society needs to change in this country. Now, people coming in here, but the problem is people. You have to understand when people come to America, they're seen by politicians, and this is every country, as from politicians' views as just votes. Period. Now, when that happens, people in society are going to turn on those people because now they see them as political tools. When if there was no politics involved and those 14,000 people just crossed the border and they were offered nothing by the government, they would have to figure out how to work within that system. Like there's an example about New York, which I love. You have you have New York, and I hate New York for its politics, but ironically, all those idiots who live there don't realize they live in the most capitalist place in the world, where you can walk a a Israeli Jew can walk into a taxi run by a Sunni Muslim from Iraq and they give each other money and they both get what they want and they say have a good day and they go away. They don't realize what just happened there. Like society just succeeded. Like you didn't need government to be like, well, this guy can't get along with this guy, so we need to benefit this guy to hurt. No, just let them figure it out. And the 14,000 people that cross the border, the ones who can't make it on their own will leave. And then the
They'll
society
go
doesn't
home when they can't get work. They walked here without water, apparently.
Yes, and they will walk back, and they will not go fuck you, America. They'll just say, all right, well that didn't work out, and they'll leave. But when you start doing the thing where, well, this group needs our help, then you're involving the government and you're fucking another group, and eventually that'll come to a head. And my point is, when you have people that come from another country that come here with that view, where there's always been a team against the team, you're gonna bring this country. And we've already, like Greg said earlier, we're already there. I mean, we're a socialist country without saying it, but there's a I think it's a silent majority in this country where it's still that individual. What have you done for yourself lately? Not what have you done for me lately. What have you done for yourself lately? Before I like,
Yeah.
I hire people. Before I hire somebody, I look at the resume. What have you done? Oh, you had a 9-month gap in employment. Fuck you. If you had 13 jobs but you have no experience, you know what? I might hire you because you have 13 jobs. You will learn the job. So, like, I think I agree that society is the answer, but like Greg says, the society in America is so poisoned right now. It's so poisoned where you fuck your neighbor to get ahead. That I don't even know I don't even know how to finish that
I'm
thought.
losing you.
But that's kind of where we're at. We're just kind of like
Well,
spinning our wheels here.
we should wrap it up though, because it's late. I'm telling you, people don't click too often on things that are like 3 hours long. So, but
probably.
so I gotta we gotta wrap it up, man. I appreciate you coming on, Creative. Is this your name on here, or are you on Steam or anything, bud?
Yeah, that's my name, Steam.
Okay.
Well,
cool.
You can throw your blog link in. I appreciate you coming by. I hope we didn't yell at you too much or make you feel bad, but you know we're not gonna change who we are depending on who's around. I hope because then we would probably be just like everybody else out here too, man. But obviously I feel like I'm being helpful when I explain how socialism brings people down. I really do. So I hope that it was positive for everybody, and I enjoyed it.
Course.
Well,
we could do it again if you want. If you want to get if you want to get into some posts and send them over at the information war tag, and you want to come back on too, love to hear from you again.
For sure. Or if some stuff pops off in Argentina, I'm big into foreign policy, and especially if feel free to send me some stuff. But I do like the perspective of, and I'm not speaking for you personally, but just a view of America from outside America, because I feel like we're Americans. A lot of Americans, like Greg. I don't know if I can't speak for Greg, but for me, I feel like I'm drowning in that I can't explain to people that don't live here that it's not as good as they try to sell it. Like, we have a problem going on here. Like, there are people freaking out and running around the streets and burning shit down. And
I have two things to say. Just two.
Sure.
One, the next conversation that we're going to have, as you are more than I need a chronometer we can both explain and talk, because I don't speak.
For sure.
I don't speak very good, so I need a little space.
You speak a lot better English than I do of Spanish or Castellano, man. You're doing great, dude. Definitely
use
did.
Full words, unlike me and Greg.
Yes, did very well.
Second, I remember the second point. It's here in Argentina. We have exactly the same problem as you are talking about, of high impositive taxes to those businessmen who are working. We are here having the same
middle
pattern.
Class. The middle class is getting destroyed.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, I don't like seeing it.
It's a phenomenon. I think the problem here is you guys are watching from the poor instead to look who is really stealing your money. I don't know if you are catching what I'm going to say, but
well, I know who's stealing my money. Believe me, I know the actual people by name.
But
I go to their house on the weekends. Yeah.
Trust me, the poor is not who are.
No, I love. That was.
I blame the government.
But that was the point my whole time.
No, but the problem is not that the poor who receives money from the state. The problem is the rich who doesn't pay taxes.
No,
I mean the big.
But I disagree with you.
But yeah, I gotta wrap it up. I do. I would love to. I will leave you. I'll let you have the last point though. That's fine by me. I gotta take care of the business end though, guys. I do. I really do.
Yeah.
So there we go. I'm gonna do it. I gotta go through the spiel. So here's the segue. How we actually help people. And I won't just leave you guys with there's no solution. And like I said, there's no fake altruism from us. And this is the ad portion of the show. But we have you can support us with payments on Patreon and get into that over there. anybody can contribute to the information war tag on Steemit, and we have curators to pay you out. We also have accounts with My Patriot Supply, survival supplies, and emergency preparedness gear. This is self-reliance and food independence. They have all sorts of good stuff. They don't just have freeze-dried food, but they have plenty of that and really good MREs, meals ready to eat. And if you are looking to help somebody, sometimes a hand up does mean just, okay, here's the energy to get something done on your own. So feeding people is a good way of getting things out, in my opinion. So honest to God, you should check out but they also have water filters. They have, you got dirty water, they got a solution for that too. You can buy water filters, you can buy, safety blankets, I believe. They got things that keep you alive, and hell, actually just make a camping trip a ton of fun. And if you do live in a government that doesn't let you make any money, you can get to us on decentralizednews.com. You can find us there. You start joining up. You can start posting up if you want. We're always looking to expand. So, if you guys are interested in that. If you're having trouble connecting, we do have a deal with Virtual Shield VPN. It's something that'll help you change your IP address so you can actually get to the websites you want to get to. And changing your VPN could be a very good idea. It's really not a bad idea at all. So if you're in a place that you might think tomorrow they might raid your crypto wallet, it's a good place. Hide it in Germany. Why the hell not? Maybe they're not going to raid Swiss crypto wallets that day. So you got to be clever. You got to stay ahead, and you can always stay connected to the decentralized news and get information in and out if you have your own VPN. I put a hold on. I got to do this, man. So anyway, this is the end of the show. This is the end of the show. The show's over, bro. Come on, man.
I forgot you're streaming that.
So we have one last thing. We have that link in the chat I put in there is for crypto donation, and we use that stuff to help get these broadcasts out. We are in the process of getting better mics for all our people that do the podcast, and everything that we need is on the list, and we are making the website better and better every time. This isn't just beer money or anything like that. Matter of fact, I haven't bought beer in quite some time. This is all about making things work here and helping pay for all these broadcasts, making life better for everybody. So we have those in the link, and we take in Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and really appreciate all that. And I do believe on our website you can check out our Amazon link, and I don't know. I think that's about it as far as that goes. I am Gregory Patrick over on Steemit. Appreciate it if you checked out my blog at Gregory Patrick over there. Share anything you can. Upvote. That's a lot of bread and butter for me lately. It's been working out real well, and love the support and much appreciate it. No chains. I think it'd be your turn to tell us where you're at and how to find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. Greg posted it earlier, but I just finished an article on Saudi Arabia and what's going on there, and not really what's going on there, but the background behind it. I'll be doing a video about it later this week, and that'll link to my YouTube, which I do a YouTube. I try to do a video a week. I have a podcast that's available on iTunes called the Voluntary Exchange Podcast. I can't believe I got that name. And then I have Decentralized News, which is our website, and then everything else. Everything's linked in Steemit at the bottom of all my articles, so just check it out there. I don't have any donation pages. I think I have a Patreon, but don't go crazy with that. But I try to be here at least once a week and to chat everybody up. So feel free to look me up. And I'm always looking for topics. By the way, I just want to throw this in here real quick, Greg. I'm always looking for topics from people that have a story to tell from another country that I'm not aware of, because I do like doing deep dives on this type of stuff, like I did on Saudi Arabia. So if there's something I'm not aware of, please feel free to reach out, because I will do the research, because I enjoy it, because I'm a sick person. So go ahead. That's really it for me.
Somebody random popped in. I thought he was going to leave some links. I don't know if it ended up in any of your guys' boxes, but I suppose I'll try to find him at some point.
In the chat. We'll get some. I want to get him. I want to get some links. I like the perspective of somebody that's not from this
You
chaos
know,
that we live in.
little philosophy was great. You know, creative. If you want to say anything as far as where to find you, you can go right ahead, dude. You definitely were on the show, contributing pretty good tonight. So you know.
No, that's what this was. That was a good talk. I like to talk about politics. I really like politics, and I don't think the real stealers here are the government. That's my point of view. I think there are biggest player who are parasiting our states, my state and your state, um,
All
and they
right.
want to fight. They want us to fight against the poor, and we thought the poor is the bad and the state is the bad one, but the enemy is pretty invisible. It's not easy. It's not.
Alrighty, so we are happy to have you, man. So it was great chatting. We'll probably, we'll beat you up on Steam It and check out your blog there. It's always fun hanging out, guys. This has been Decentralized News Hour. I'm pretty sure it's episode 27. And
Yep.
awesome hanging out. We will see you probably Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's midnight UTC. Have a good couple days, guys. We'll see you then.
All right, great.